And of course, that is the question we're hopefully going to answer in the next couple of hours, as it has been long delayed. We were supposed to start at 12 noon. Here it is at almost 4:45 in the afternoon on Sunday. And we're waiting for the most famous words in motorsports to get this one underway. Race number 13 of 17. We'll do 200 laps, 400 miles around the Michigan International Speedway at speeds well over 218 miles an hour. At least that's what we qualified at, 218.3.
Speeds might even be a little bit higher simply from when you get the cars in a pack, Marty. They start to draft off of each other. You never know.
Well, it's time. They're telling us to take it trackside for the most famous words in motorsports.
Race fans, it is time for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome back four-time Indianapolis 500 winner, Al Unser Sr. to give the command.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Engines have come to life here at Michigan International Speedway, and boy, for all the fans who have stuck it out here in the grandstands, the moment they have waited for. And for all of you that have followed us from start to finish, thank you so much. We're glad that you're with us here on ESPN Classic as we get ready for 200 laps. Take a look now at our Firestone starting grid as it will come across the top of your screen. And you've been through the field if you were with us earlier today. There's Dario Franchitti, his second pole, but the other one at Richmond was based on points because qualifying was washed out. And there's Scott Sharp. He was pointing out that we didn't give him enough love in that first broadcast.
Tremendous qualifying effort from him and this team this year, and they're getting closer to the front each and every time they here compete.
And as you've gone back through the field, you can see some others. There's Vitor Meira. This is his 72nd start, still looking for win number 1. He's finished second 7 times. And on back through the field to A.J. Foyt IV and Sarah Fisher. And in row 9, Buddy Rice not happy at all with the way the car was running during qualifying. Look for him to move a little forward. There's Milka Duno and John Herb rounding out the 20-car field. And the cars pull off pit lane as they make their way out for the warm-up laps.
Now here what they're going to be doing is getting everything up to temperature, the engine, the transmission, trying to light those rear tires up just a little bit on these time when they come out of the pit lane itself, just to get some heat in the tires. Tire warmers are not allowed here during races in the Indy Racing League, so you have to go out there and do it out much like a manual type situation. We see a problem with John Herb, the 19 car, which is starting on the last row. He had a problem here just the other day. Back into the car, spun around a slow and lazy spin up towards the wall, but he's now back underway. And for these few couple of pace laps right now, Marty, a lot of weaving with the tires, trying to get them up to temperature and just get ready for this start.
All right, we're on our first of 3 pace laps. Let's get final reports from pit lane. Jackaroo.
Well, sometimes you hear it in football, sometimes you hear it in other sports. You got to play hurt. Well, in the case of the man that will be driving the Team Penske number 3, Helio Castroneves, he's going to be playing with laryngitis. That could create a whole new set of issues for Tim Cindric and his team. You see, not only do you have telemetry, but especially just after a caution comes out, you want to confer with your driver. Ask him what sort of challenges that will set for them today. And he said, well, we are concerned about it. In fact, we kidded Helio that he sounded, Brianne Pedigo, much more like Jill DeFerrin.
Well, Jack, for Tony Kanaan, he was high atop the speed charts yesterday. That is right up until qualifying, when a small sensor in the gearbox failed, causing the car to lose power. Once they got it back up under power, all telemetry failed. So Tony Kanaan got out of that car after qualifying and told his crew, you need to check every single inch of this car. It simply does not feel right. So that's exactly what they did. They believe they've got the problem solved, fixed everything they could on that car. But as Tony goes around the track for the first time today, he's in a relatively brand new car, guys. It's kind of an unknown.
All right, thanks, Brianne. No, we've just been informed that we are going to start this race under yellow. Third time by, we will start the race, and we'll take at least one more pace lap because they are still wanting to check, get drivers' opinions on the weepers down on the pit lane exit.
Well, not only that, also when the cars go around, because these cars have really downforce coming from the underwing on these cars, it's built like an inverted airplane wing. If cars go over areas of the racetrack where weepers may have been before, that might start to draw the water back out of the race course again. So if a car goes over in front of you and you see the situation of spray coming off, then they can radio back into their pit lane and tell them exactly where they see that type of situation happening. So that's one thing they'll do when they do these running yellow caution, as we call it. The second thing is to allow the cars to get up to a little bit higher speed than the pace lap speed and to build a little more heat in the tires when they're going around at a faster rate.
Well, we would normally show you all of our 6 onboard cameras at this point, but if you get a glimpse from the outside, the fog layer has come in and has forced the helicopter on the ground. And without the helicopter being up, we can't bounce the signal. So that's why we'll not have onboards, at least for the first part of this race. Let's talk now about what we should be watching in today's race.
Well, really, this is the track is. What is your mood when you arrive here? And I always say that because in this situation here, you have to come here almost with a no-care attitude if you're going to find Victory Circle. It really just takes a foot on the floor type of mentality to get around here. Speed, speed, speed. Well, we know it's 215, 220 miles an hour. And some people ask, is it 75% car here, 25% driver? Well, it's hard to say, but I think whatever the reason, you can come up with some type of number. It really is going to be down to the driver now to keep us foot on the gas. And the downforce level, you heard a couple of the drivers talk about, well, we're going to run our strategy. We'll see our downforce level is. Downforce level affects the speed of the car going down the straightaway, the handling in the turns, the fuel mileage. We're going to touch on all those things here today because that might just play out a big part here for all the drivers in the race to get to Victory Circle.
Well, the car's now making their way into turn 4, and this will be the 3rd time by, so we will get a green and yellow at the same time. So the race will start. Here are how the points break down. You get 50 for first, 40 for second, 35 for third, and on down. And that's why it's been so bizarre when you realize that Dario Franchitti has finished 3rd, 2nd, and ends up losing from a 65-point margin down to 24 because a guy by the name of Dixon goes out and wins all 3.
He's got those 3 in a row, going for the 4th in a row today, which is an IRL record. But Dario's been doing everything a championship run should be happening for him. But obviously, the guy that he's competing mostly against has been doing just one better.
So the official word from Indycar officials, we'll be going green next time by. So they form up on the pace car for the final time. The back straightaway here at Michigan. That's 2,242 feet long. The front tri-oval, 3,600 feet. Banking on the front is a total of like 12 degrees. The turns are 18 degrees here at Michigan. Well, it's been a long time coming today. We were supposed to do this, a little close to 5 hours ago. But here we go. Finally, the pace car, Johnny Rutherford, pulls into pit lane. And the Firestone Indy 400 is green.
Wonderful is that wide 73-foot wide racetrack, Marty. Drivers already going 3 or 4 abreast through turns 1 and 2.
Side by side for a moment there, you saw Dario Franchitti and Sam Hornish. They still trying to decide who's going to lead lap 1. It will be Franchitti, then Hornish, then it'll be Castroneves. Scott Sharp 4th. Scott Dixon is up to 5th. Thomas Schechter up to 6th.
Watch everybody get down to the low line, right down by that white line going between turns 2 and 3. Everybody hunts for the low line so nobody gets underneath them. Move the car up just a little bit going into turn 3. Get your approach right, get through 3 and 4. And again, everybody hugs the bottom, Marty, along the D section here on the front straightaway. If passing's going to be done, especially for a late race pass for the lead, look for it to happen on the top side.
2 things we need to point out for you. You notice the white line that is at the bottom of the racetrack. You cannot cross that to increase your position. You do dip it below the white line there on the backstretch when you want to tell everybody when you're going into pit lane. Also, the second thing, when they come by the front straightaway again, just past the finish line, the lower you are to that line, watch the bump that these guys hit. It's right there. See them? You can actually see the cars hop.
And there again, that's where you want to be. So all the cars will be set up to be able to go over that bump without the car bottoming out. That means the bottom of the car, the floor itself, or else the springs itself and the shocks, all that setup has to be just correct. Now, there's a lot of movement going on here as everybody's trying to make their move. Dixon's on the low side right now of Scott Sharp, and he actually moves Scott Sharp up the racetrack just a little bit. Sharp currently running in fourth and having a great run here right now, but you can see the speed of Dixon as he's just starting to get the tire pressures built up and the temperatures built up. A little help from the 10 car, his teammate of Dan Weldon, to help him push him through.
Yeah, and remember, Weldon started a little bit further back as he was in the, he started fifth, then fell back, and now has come back up to the sixth position, helping teammate Scott Dixon. Things have sort of settled down a little bit. He's zeroing in on Helio Castroneves now. Let's get more on Team Penske. What's going on, Jack?
Well, Sam Hornish Jr. runs in second as the red and white cars are about to assault one the other. Ganassi versus Penske. He thinks he may have a problem with his onboard weight jacket. He radioed in frantically to Roger Penske. They checked the onboard telemetry and the readouts back here on pit road, and they said, we think it's all right. Sam isn't all that sure, guys.
All right, well, we'll keep our eyes on that one. As you can see, Sam right now continues right ahead of teammate Helio Castroneves. The two Target Ganassi cars right behind, and the lone AGR representative right now in the top 5 is points leader Dario Franchitti, and there he is. But look out for Tony Kanaan. Look back in 6th. Here he comes. He's working his way up.
Always a strong competitor on starts and restarts. Everybody's very much aware of that, but he actually got his car going quicker, probably sooner than everybody else, and actually got around a few of the cars in front of him. Now, Scott Sharp seems to have lagged on behind him. Sharp got pushed up onto the high side, got pushed off that low lane, ended up having a couple of cars go past him here, so he's got to make sure he's watching his mirrors at the same time and starting to protect behind him, because Thomas Scheckter is on the march right now also.
Scheckter is running in the 8th spot right behind Sharp, who's in 7th. Nothing has changed up front right now. Got a bit of a freight train rolling here as we work the early laps at Michigan.
And speeds are already 217, 218 plus average speeds right now. We expected that when they all start to run in a pack like they do. You see them coming off the middle of your screen off of turn 2, diving towards that low lane, and setting themselves back up for turn 3. Jack Arute had a report on the weight jacker on Sam Hornish's car, and that is one of the tools that a driver has on board to adjust the handling of the race car. It can change the weight from the right front to the left front just for different track conditions, and if he does not have that tool, they'll have to come up with some other innovative ways of changing the car handling for Sam during pit stops, maybe a little bit more use of tire pressures.
Well, Dario Franchitti has opened up about a 4/10 of a second lead. There he is on the far left of your screen. Behind him is where life has gotten very interesting with the 2 Penske cars nose to tail, and then the 2 Ganassi cars nose to tail. And then there you see the 7-Eleven of Tony Kanaan. Okay, that was Sam's radio, although I could not make it all out. Could you?
Oh, I couldn't make it out, but Sam is usually calm, cool, and collective, and that was a lot of loud yelling going on there right there. So whatever's going on right now, he wants to make sure that they hear it back there. And you heard the reply back from Roger, okay, we'll look into it. So, you know, maybe there is more going on with that weight jacker than really we anticipated, but we'll have to listen for that and see if we can find out what's going on. What's interesting to me right now, Marty, is that Dario Franchitti, all by himself, the head of this train, pushing all the air, all by his lonesome, and running speeds 216.5 to 217, and the cars behind him have the benefit of running in a tow with each other, and they cannot catch him. So tells me he's got a good race car, and he's got some horsepower that's working well for him. Aerodynamically, everything is set up very, very well.
But the one thing we do know, if you are out front, you do use more fuel. So he's burning more ethanol than the cars behind him. Will that become a factor as the race plays out? Well, we'll find out. We've got to step aside. We'll go side by side with Dario Franchitti leading Hornish, Castroneves, Dixon, and Weldon. That's your top 5 here at Michigan. While we race here at Michigan, don't forget, next Saturday we head to Kentucky for the Kentucky Indycar 300. You'll see it on ESPN2, 6:30 Eastern Time. Race number 14 of 17 as the championship closes quickly. Dario Franchitti out in front of Sam Hornish Jr. and Elio Castroneves. Let's get more on Dario from Brianne Pettigo.
Marty, Dario Franchitti still maintaining the lead, but he has complained of a bit of an understeer problem. He's already called into his crew asking for a turn in the front wing at their first pit opportunity. And guys, as the field closes in on him, I guarantee you he is using those rear view mirrors constantly.
Well, Brianne, that's some great information because it looked like his car did work better just even 5 laps ago. But with that push that he's having, that understeer, that means he's turning the front wheel, and the front wheels are scrubbing, slowing his speed down in the middle of the turns. And I think that's why you're starting to see the pack start to catch up to him, because he's probably used his onboard weight jacker and his roll bar adjustments to the max right now. He'll make some changes with the wing and tire pressures on that car next time around. He'll go back and reset the onboard tools, and they'll see if they can keep improving that car throughout the race.
His largest lead was only 0.4 of a second. It's down to 1/10 of a second right now, and I think it's even closer than that. Here they come. Working back through the field, you can see that they got the Penske cars running second and third, and then there's Scott Dixon, who is running in fourth. Now, of course, he is trying to win for the 4th time in a row. No one's ever done that in IndyCar Series history. There are 2 others that have won 3 in a row, Kenny Breck and Dan Weldon. You heard him say, just stay with it. Weldon's with you. Of course, Breck and Weldon, the 4th race, they went on to finish 5th and 6th, respectively. We don't know yet how Scott will do.
Interesting to watch all these cars go through the turns themselves. Franchitti on the low line, Hornish just another line up, Dixon and all those cars behind him also. See how they're staggered through that? They're all looking for clean air to go over their wings, so they don't end up having a situation where the car is getting disturbed air from the car in front and the car starts to push off and going up the track itself. So some neat running here. Drivers are being a little bit conservative, not pushing it too hard in the sense of trying to be over aggressive, but they'll want to be in a pack. They want to keep together, so when you get to your first pit stops, which we understand might be somewhere over lap 30 to 35, 36, they'll want to make sure that they're in a pack together if they're going to have green flag pit stops.
10% of the race is over. 20 laps are down of the 200. And of course, Scott Dixon, what would it mean for him trying to get 4 in a row at Michigan?
I think I'd rather be at a different place trying to make it 4 in a row. Just because I have had such bad luck here, and probably not a circuit that we've had the best cars at. So that makes it difficult to do the 4 in a row. But I think for us, we take it weekend by weekend. We're always looking ahead, and this is a focus on our championship. And the biggest key for us at the moment is to finish ahead of Dario. If we can't finish first, we'll try and finish second. If we can't finish second, we'll try and finish third, and so on. So it's narrowing down to the championship, and that's what we've got to keep in our mind.
His reference to not having great success here, the last 2 years he's finished 19th and 16th respectively, and already here comes Dario Franchitti looking at lap traffic. John Herb down low, Dario on the left side. You see the flagman waving the blue flags, and here they come.
Now for John Herb, who gets his first experience going around this super fast racetrack, he's had a couple of problems. He's 2 laps down. He's been in the pits a couple of times trying to fix a couple of things, and he's on the low side, right where he's probably most comfortable, but it's also the place where everybody else would like to be. Now Tony Kanaan's trying to box in the number 2 car of Thomas Scheckter on the low side to see if he could actually get around him through that traffic, but Scheckter had nothing of it and got a little bit of a draft off of him, turned around and made the move completed.
Well, and there is Danica right behind Tony Kanaan. Scheckter did get around Tony to move into the 6th spot. Then Tony is now 7th. Danica was 10th about 4 laps ago. She's moved up to the number 8 position. So we've got a little bit of shuffling in the middle of the field. Nothing has changed up front. And Dario Franchitti has now raised his lead back to that 0.4 of a second. So we're going to step aside because we've got pit stops. The first round of stops will be coming up shortly. So we'll go side by side. Stay with us here in Michigan. Back here at Michigan International Speedway at the Firestone Indy 400, all 27 laps have been led by car number 27. Dario Franchitti, our points leader. Remember, you do pick up 3 bonus points for leading the most laps of the race. So Scott Dixon, number 2 in the points, currently 4th on the racetrack. I'm sure he's thinking of that.
Well, there's no doubt he's very much aware of that, because drivers are always adding up the points inside the cockpit, especially the championship contenders. There's no doubt that's going through his mind as this race continues.
Whoa! And we've had a crash, and it looks like it is the 19 of John Herb. John had already gone to a total of 3 laps down, and he had a crash earlier the weekend during practice, nowhere near as wicked as this one.
Now, he's already contacted the wall. You can see that the rear wing is off the car.
So at lap 29, we pick up our first caution.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
You can see the steering wheel is coming off the car. And once he has the steering wheel off the car, then he cannot transfer back to the pit lane itself. And there he is. He looks like he's a little bit high coming off the turn. But it's interesting there, because I see parts are actually off the car already, Marty, before he has impacted the wall. So it makes me wonder if something is broken on the car that sent him up there, because he did not look like he had impacted the wall at that point in time, unless he's actually hit it before we started to see that replay. But we'll have to have another look at that.
Delphi safety team is on the scene, and we can point out the fewest cautions we've ever had here is 2. And that was just last year. The most is only 5. That was the first year the series ran here back in 2002. Pits are still closed, but it'll allow everybody to stop under yellow as we were approaching the first round of green flag stops. We were thinking somewhere around lap 30, and here we are working lap 30 and under yellow. So everybody getting a little better fuel mileage than we actually anticipated here in the first run.
Well, you make sure that everybody knows that they're going to come in here at this opportunity to put some fuel and tires. It'll be interesting to see if somebody takes a gamble and does what we call that short fill, just to get track position here.
Everybody is laid out, and we have been told pits are open, so next time by, everybody will be coming in. So they're the top 3. 4th place being Scott Dixon, 5th place Dan Weldon. There you see the number 2 car, Thomas Schechter. He's running 6th. Tony Kanaan in 7th. Danica Patrick in 8th. Scott Sharp in 9th, and Ed Carpenter rounds out the top 10. Give a little love to A.J. Foyt IV. He started 15th. He has moved up to the 11th position. Crew members, a lot of pressure on them today, because obviously you can see it's really hard to pass when everybody has same engines and everything pretty much equal. Let's get ready for our Ethanol Edge triple pits. Let's send it first to Brienne Pettigo.
Marty, I'm just waiting now for Dario Franchitti, our leader, to pull into his pit stall. He is coming in as we speak. He should get 4 tires, 22 gallons of ethanol, and we're waiting on that front wing adjustment to correct the understeer. There it was, and he is out. Jack?
Oh, man, for Sam Hornish, the weight checker does not work. They make an adjustment with Castroneves beats his teammate out. It's a drag race down to the pit out line. Boy, that one's too close to call, guys.
It will be interesting to see. I mean, it looked like Sam got around him. Here is the way it shakes out. Franchitti and Hornish listed as 1st and 2nd. Dixon picks up 1 spot. Castroneves is shown as dropping 1. Tony Kanaan picked up 2. Thomas Schechter dropped 2. Of course, that's the race off pit road. And we'll step aside, go side by side here at Michigan. Back here at Michigan International Speedway for the Firestone Indy 400 under our first caution of the day, brought out by John Herb as he had contact coming out of turn 2, banged up the back half of the car, and seems that he is okay. There is your race leader, Dario Franchitti. He was first in and first off of pit road. In fact, let's go back and show you just how close it was to see who got 2nd.
Here you go. Franchitti's across the line first. That's the pit out line that's directly by those cones. And right now, the number 6 car of Sam Hornish Jr. is carrying the momentum, because he pitted down pit lane just a bit further. And the 9 car of Dixon was not up to speed as quickly coming from his short pit box. In that situation, though, it was just by a nose. And And the 6 car of Hornish just got through, I would say, by inches.
If you're scoring at home, we want to point out that we have had an official lead change, and how it happened was Dario Franchitti's pit box is before start finish. Sam Hornish is after. So when Dario pitted, Sam went by. That's how we got our second leader, and we've had 2 lead changes. So if you want to keep that on your card, you've got it. We are going to get the signal for 1 to go, this time by. Dario's biggest lead this entire race has been 0.45 seconds.
And one car to watch for on a restart is Dario Franchitti's teammate, the number 11 car of Tony Kanaan, always strong on restarts. Now, Tony is in 5th, and he would love to get up a little closer to try to help out Dario Franchitti. Now, no doubt that he has made some changes on his car. The 5th car on your screen right there, the 711 car of Tony Kanaan, who's falling directly behind Elio Castroneves. Both born and raised in the same country, grew up as childhood friends driving go-karts, have had some on-track spats here recently, and maybe the friendship is not as strong, and I'm sure Kanaan would just love to get past Castroneves on this restart.
Well, we're going to find out into turns 3 and 4. Dario Franchitti gets on the hammer. You heard the call. We're back racing at Michigan. Going to try this 3 wide. That's Thomas Schechter on the high side. And he's falling back in line. Two abreast, that's Danica Patrick now going 3. Dan Weldon, here comes Schechter again on the high side.
He loves to run high here. Remember, 73 feet wide at this racetrack. So in that situation there where he got moved up the track from the 10 car of Dan Weldon, he had somewhere to go instead of getting up into the gray and towards the wall. Everybody's trying to get a little drafting going on here. Remember, we talked about downforce. One of the things to watch for in this race, how much downforce does all these cars have? More downforce, higher wing angles or higher wicker angles turn around and give you better grip in the turns, make you a little slower down the straightaway. Look at this, side by side, wheel to wheel with Dixon and Tony Kanaan, Marty, at 215 miles an hour.
Yeah, Kanaan's up to 4th at the stripe last time by, and Danica's up to 6th. You see how close everybody is sort of all jammed up there. Let's get an update from pit lane. Bree?
Marty, Tony Kanaan, and I quote, said that his car was understeering like a pig. And during that last pit stop, he made the exact same change his teammate Dario Franchitti did, and that was a turn in the front wing. So we're going to keep our eye on that and see if that change helps the handling of his car better.
So far, so good. I mean, there he is in the lead pack. Dario has opened up a gap again of about 0.3 of a second. Everybody else is slicing and dicing behind him.
And when they make that change, what Dario's trying to accomplish is to go into the turn as he is right now into turn 1. Remember, the top speed's probably 220 miles an hour. And yes, he turns the steering wheel, but he doesn't want to turn it very much. The more you turn it, the more you scrub speed off going through the turn itself. And that's what he's trying to accomplish right now, is the least amount of turning. And look at this.
4 wide down the backstretch. That was Marco Andretti shooting way out to the high side. He's still hanging it out there.
Now, Vitor Mira was a little high on that track. He's got to know that Marco was there. Remember, we showed you the spotters earlier on up on top of the building. The spotters are in constant radio contact with all these drivers around here. Now, watch this. Hornish is on the low side. The 10 car of Dan Weldon's on the high side. Remember, spotters are telling them he's high, he's still there, he's still there. They're hearing this transmission all the way around, Marty.
Well, take a look at Sam Hornish. He's got his hands full with Dan Weldon. Here comes Scott Dixon. They're 3 wide going into the corner. Who's going to give? None of them. Hornish is all alone. The Target Ganassi guys in file and lockstep. And they may and will get around him. And we're hearing, Jack, an issue for Sam Hornish?
Well, sometimes it pays to be better than lucky, better than good. Let's go back to the pit stop for Sam Hornish Jr. Now, everything is taken over. Look it over on the left-hand side when he pulls in. Watch the fuel man stretch the fuel hose right to its fullest extension. Another 2 inches, and they would not have been able to make the couple. They reviewed this pit stop, and the first thing Roger Penske told Sam Hornish, you've got to pull it in a little bit closer.
Great piece, Jack, as you're right. I mean, just a little bit further, and it would have been disaster because he would have lost contact with the lead group. He'd have been back at this shuffle and had to fight his way back. Meanwhile, let's reset it for you because it's Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, and Elio Castroneves, with Kanaan in second now. Dan Weldon's fourth, Scott Dixon's fifth. Thomas Schechter has fought his way back to sixth, and Hornish has dropped to seventh.
Kanaan accomplished exactly what he wanted to do on that restart. Move through the cars that were in front, get up behind his teammate Dario Franchitti, who's leading right now in the Canadian Club car, the number 27 machine. He wants to get up there to be able to run a little defense and sort of help his teammate continue to lead laps here to gain those valuable 3 points that you mentioned about earlier, Marty.
Well, it took him a better part of 40 laps of this 200-lap affair because we pointed it out yesterday after qualifying and at the beginning of the day today that Dario was going to be all alone in the early stages of this race. That is until now. He's got his wingman, and his name is Tony Kanaan.
And the problem up for Elio Castroneves right now is that obviously he's lost his teammate, Sam Hornish Jr. Now, he's only a few cars back, but he's not up there to be able to help him.
Well, the Target Chip Ganassi team is in lockstep, Jack.
At the instructions of Chip Ganassi, both Dan Weldon has been told and Scott Dixon as well to team up and find each other as the dance partner. Add to that, to checking the radar, they've advised both their drivers that there seems to be some green on their radar screen. I'm talking about the weather radar screen, 1 county away. Fellas, there is a sense of urgency that's beginning to come to full boil right down here in Target Chip Ganassi's pit.
Well, I think that's a great point, Jack, because now you're thinking back to Indianapolis. Remember, we know that back then it's 100 laps to make it an official race. Remember how hard these guys were driving when they got close to that midway point? That's what's going to happen now. This is going to turn into a sprint race.
And it looks like exactly that's what's going on right now. And what I've noticed also is the 6 car of Sam Hornish Jr. is now starting to run the high line. Obviously, whatever changes they made on his car during that last pit stop did not like the low lane, so he tries to get himself higher, going through the turn in the middle to the high line.
Jack, you've got more on Hornish?
Well, we can confirm that the weight jacker is totally inoperable, so every change, Scott, they're going to make on that car will have to be a wing adjustment. They added 1 full turn of wing in, and you're right. All of a sudden, the car likes to go to the high life rather than the low line.
So, as we get back to the action up front, it is still Dario Franchitti. And there is Milka Duno as she is slow on the racetrack, and he has brought out our second caution here on lap 45. So it looks like Milka is going to be coasting to a stop and not being able to make it back to pit lane.
Well, this will be interesting now because pitting around lap 30, and we've got 15, 16 laps under green right now. Do you gamble, come in, or do you stay out? But I would have to say most of the teams, the top guys right now, are going to turn around and take this advantage underneath yellow, get some service work done on the car, and then take the opportunity to get back out as quickly as possible. Remember, pit stops for track position, as we mentioned. You can see everybody setting up is going to be so important in this situation right now.
Well, and the thing to remember is even if you stop now, you're going to have to stop one more time before the halfway mark.
Every team is out there calculating.
You can see Scott Dixon's crew is already set up, so is Dan Weldon. They're more towards pit out. Milka has come to a complete stop right in turn 4. Pit lane is open, so we'll see who takes.
Dave, pass that off, please. Yes, that one's coming in.
No, that was Dario's radio. Sounds like they're coming in.
And if the leader comes in, then everybody else will come in and follow.
There's the crew set and ready.
You mentioned earlier, Marty, about the pressure on the crew right now. Obviously, they're training throughout the week, try to make their pit stops as fast as they possibly can. But this is what pays the money right now for these guys to get these 4 tires changed, 22 gallons of ethanol fuel.
Okay, mate, same again. Right down the center like you had it. That was beautiful last time.
That's John Anderson talking him in. Let's send it to Brienne.
You're leaving.
Marty, Dario Franchitti is pulling in right now. He has asked for another half turn in that front wing. Right now he's getting tires. They are going to fill it up back to that 22 gallons of ethanol, looking for that half turn. And there's a problem, guys. It looks like he's stalled the car.
And Brienne, check this out. Elio Castroneves Edwards and his teammate Sam Hornish go for fuel only as they start to make the drive back out onto the flat and out onto the racetrack.
Could be a great call by Roger Penske, because remember, we only had 15 laps on those tires, and we saw no appreciable wear through any of the practice or sessions earlier.
And a lot of drivers said that these tires seemed a little harder this year than last year. Not certain if that is the case, but if that is certain, then without a doubt, those tires can last just a little bit longer than normal.
Take a look. You don't even see Dario Franchitti's name on the race off pit road. And you can see he is going to be well back in the pack because of stalling the car. The first piece of bad misfortune for this team in quite a while. And as we get back to action here at Michigan, we are under our second caution, and at the very back of the field is Dario Franchitti, 18th position. Two other cars are out of this race. John Herb crashed. Milka Duno brought out the second one. Now here is what happened on the pit stop. 4
tires are going on perfectly. The fuel is in. He goes to leave and stalls the car. Remember, just before that pit stop sequence, we mentioned how much pressure is on the team members to do a good job. Well, pressure on the driver also to make sure he does everything perfectly. Not so much luck today, though, for Dario Franchitti.
Well, guess what it means, folks. Right now, Scott Dixon has the race lead as we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing. And in 18th place is the points leader, the man he's chasing, Dario Franchitti. One quarter of the way through this race, and we're going 4 wide again. Dario making a move. He's got one car. That's Manning, the 17 of Ryan Hunter-Reay's, picked off another. Man on a mission. He's got to get to the front. The weather is coming. There you can see he's got 4 more targets right in front of him.
He's got a fast car. He has to be aggressive, but you also have to be a little bit patient. Make sure you don't put your nose where it doesn't belong, because these guys are racing for position just ahead of you, Marty. It's a risk-reward situation right now because you know your car is strong, but be a little bit patient.
All right, let's go back up front, show you what's happened so far. Scott Dixon has opened up a bit of a gap over Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon. 4th is Elio Castroneves. Sam Hornish is in 4th. In fact, Weldon has gotten around Tony Kanaan.
Exactly what he needed to do to try and help Scott Dixon. Kanaan, certainly what he was thinking about on that restart was to get around Dixon and lead this race. So if it is called because of rain, he actually cuts 10 points off of Dixon's opportunity to gain points. Remember, as you mentioned, 50 points for first, 40 for second.
Remember, 101, this race is official. We're working lap 53 of 200. Whoa! Take a look at the action going down the backstretch. Danica and Thomas Schechter. Now the white line, obviously they had to go below the white line, but that's because they were forced down there. You go down there voluntarily to gain position, you're going to get penalized. Meanwhile, the battle continues up front. Here comes Kanaan trying to go around the high side.
And he's on the high side, and then his mirror's just a little bit back there. For second.
Remember, 101, this race is official. We're working lap 53 of 200. Whoa! Take a look at the action going down the backstretch. Danica and Thomas Schechter. Now the white line, obviously they had to go below the white line, but that's because they were forced down there. You go down there voluntarily to gain position, you're going to get penalized. Meanwhile, the battle continues up front. Here comes Kanaan trying to go around the high side.
And he's on the high side, and then his mirror's just a little bit back there. Dario Franchitti, he's already on the tail end of that lead group. Boy, that tells you it's a strong car.
Franchitti's up to 9th right now, and there is his teammate, Marco Andretti. That's his next position for 8th. Uh-oh, take a look. Hornish gets 2 wheels below the line.
Now, not improving his position in doing that situation. Look at Dario, low side, down by the low line. Just got a car that works down there, no scrub off at all, carrying the speed past both Penske cars. And when you're in those Penske cars right now, Dario Franchitti drives by, you're going, what does he have that I don't?
Getting a word from officials that Ed Carpenter is going to get the black flag for jumping this restart. That's Danica in the middle of the sandwich. Vitor Mira and Scott Sharp on either side of her.
Remember, we're doing this at 215, 218 miles an hour, jockeying for position going along the straightaway there, wheel to wheel. There's no fenders here. This is not NASCAR. This is high stakes, guys.
Take a look at Thomas Schechter as he has battled his way towards the front. He has got up to third. Dario Franchitti is now shown in fifth. Look at this charge, man. And with it, he is going to, well, had he stayed back where he was, he would have lost the points lead, obviously. Right now, he's putting himself right back into position. Brianne, what's the word from Dario's pit?
Well, the mood down here, Marty, is ecstatic. I talked to John Anderson just shortly after Dario stalled his car, and he, with that usual smirk on his face, patted me on the back and said in his Australian accent, "We're in no rush, darling." But I've got to tell you, they are clapping down here, and a good thing, too. Dario's family is here this weekend. His mother is attending her first race of the season, as well as his sister visiting from Scotland.
We
and
got
there's a crash.
Yellow on the racetrack as we've had another crash. The cars involved Elio Castroneves for the fourth time this year, and neither car can come to a stop as they make contact again. And I'm still trying to figure out who that is in the other car. It's Vitor Mira? It is. It's Mira. The whole right side of the car, couldn't tell the paint scheme. It's all gone.
We talked about the jockeying that was going on in this D-shaped oval out in the front section here. And right now, remember, he's got no voice. He might be yelling. Vitor can't hear him.
Well, it's been a season that Elio Castroneves is going to want to forget. He has the one win back at St. Petersburg, but now 4 crashes. Milwaukee, Texas, Watkins Glen here. And he's just telling these guys, leave me alone. Just let me blow some steam. Of course, the rules require him to make the visit to the infield care center. The captain, Roger Penske, looks on, Tim Cindric. And there's Vitor. Vitor finished second here last year. Thought maybe today might be his day, but now his 72nd career start will end with a DNF. Take a look at Elio's first 5 races and the next 6.
You think about how strong he has been also this year, but you know, championships are won by consistency and speed. There's no doubt he's had the speed, maybe not the consistency. This year will not be a championship year for Elio Castroneves. Look at the debris just by those cars impacting the wall. Now the marks behind the Honda safety truck tell the tale, because they're in the middle of the road, and you can tell the 2 cars got together and then went directly up towards the wall, and then all the debris from the point of impact is strewn all over the road.
Well, I don't think you need to wonder what he is saying. The frustration of an entire season is erupting. Problem is, he still has to make the mandatory visit to the infield care center, and I'm sure they'll track him down.
Oh, he just might walk there himself. There's no doubt about it. But when you think about this, I'd love to have him liked right now, because he's always so animated anyways. And he right now he's probably going as hard as he can with his voice, but there's probably nothing coming out.
Let's go back and take another look, see what happened. Here we go.
Vitor Mira on the high side and Elio on the low side, and there they are. They just touched. Now, Elio looks like he just moved up the road just a small amount, and for certain, you want Vitor Mira's following the road itself. He wants to come around. Now, this is at the top side of our screen. That's not as good of a replay as the one we just saw a moment ago. If we can go back and show the previous one, let's have a look at that one again, because obviously the 2 cars are going through the D-shaped oval side by side. Now let's see what happens. It looks like they're even. Vitor's coming down, trying to follow the road, maybe makes a move down, and then the Penske car just makes a move up towards the wall, just a small amount, and then they come together. And anytime the tires touch like that, that's why we saw those skid marks from the middle of the road going towards the wall itself.
And Elio continues the long walk back. Let's go take another look at this. Remember the angle of the camera. See if we can see something from this angle.
Well, if I'm an insurance adjuster right now writing up this, I got to look at it and see. There's no doubt, you know something, I'm going to call that an Allstate 50-50. There's certainly some more room on the low side for Helio Castroneves, a lot of room on the high side for Vitor Meira. We are quarter distance through this race.
This is the emotion.
But you know that's probably in Portuguese, that's not in English.
Well, it's okay if they understand it.
From the situations we've had in previous races, obviously the Delphi safety crew get there and in between the two of them very quickly.
And as we get ready to go side by side, think about this. Dario Franchitti in 6 laps went from 18th to 2nd. Does that remind you of like Dan Weldon from Homestead?
Fast car.
Back here at Michigan, we are in pit stop action, and Dario Franchitti made a very quick stop, and we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But it looks like that Dario may have gotten back out first after being all the way in 18th spot at the end of our last yellow. What a comeback story this would be, and like we mentioned, it reminds me an awful lot of Dan Weldon back at Homestead, Miami, where he had a car that was just unbeatable.
Had a problem in the pit lane, had a problem during the pit stop itself in the situation where the wheel gun and the tire and all those sorts of things that seem to go wrong in a pit stop that sometimes happen like that. Got back in the car. Remember, he told his team, settle down, guys. We got this under control, and did the march right to the front of the grid, just like Dario Franchitti has done here today, Marty. Very impressive back at Homestead. Very much the same here.
You saw Thomas Schechter second in line, then the number 9 of Scott Dixon. He's wondering where in the heck did that 27 come from. There's Marco Andretti, 4th in the line, or as you like to call it, the queue. Darren Manning is 5th in that line, and then you have Scott Sharp. So a big shakeup on this round of stops. A lot of guys just took fuel, didn't worry about tires.
Well, right now you haven't got a lot of laps on these tires, and the tire condition here is probably perfect today. It's not too hot, and it's a lot cooler than we anticipated, and I don't think that these tires are wearing near as much as you had to worry about if it was the usual 90 degrees here at Michigan.
Now, folks, there's nothing wrong with your television set on these long shots. That's how foggy it is starting to get here at the racetrack at Michigan. Sam Hornish is coming back into pit lane.
5, 4, 3,
see what happens here. Jack, what's going on?
Remember, they don't have a weight jacker, guys, so what they're trying to do is affect the same sort of changes. They've been trying to change cross weight. You can see them working on the rear side now, Scott. So what they're trying to do, as you can see the adjustments being made, is this is the old school way of manually jacking the weight around.
Exactly. What they'll end up doing is making some suspension changes now to put some of that weight from that right rear and put it over towards the left front, which is what the weight jacker would have done for him if it had been working. This is the old method, as you mentioned, Jack, the manual method. Couldn't do this under a green flag pit stop, but you can certainly do it here underneath a yellow when you have the luxury of time.
Well, they are still picking up debris on the front straightaway, and Dario Franchitti is back out in front of this race. Just an incredible comeback story. Can he hold on to it? I wouldn't bet against him. International Speedway, we are still all dazzled at the fact that in 6 laps, Dario Franchitti went from 18th to 2nd, and then at the pit stop, he comes back out in the lead thanks to his crew. And this is what they had to say about it on the radio.
Mate, that was the drive of the year. That was magic.
That's John Anderson. And Brienne, you've got more?
Marty, I spoke with John yesterday, and we were talking about what percentage of Dario's season has been luck and what percentage has been, you know, driver skill, crew skill. He told me that he did not even believe in luck until this season, but simply things have just been falling into this team's lap. How often, he said, do you see Sam Hornish get knocked out of a race, or Helio spin on an oval? They're taking each opportunity as it comes, and John Anderson was very, very affirmative when saying luck is where preparation meets opportunity.
And they're doing very well in it, and you can see Marco Andretti has got problems in the pit lane. They're up underneath the rear of the vehicle and working on it. Meanwhile, Jack Arute has caught up with Vitor Meira.
Yeah, and we're going to check with Vitor first as we try to find the replay of the accident, Vitor, because I know you want to see that. If you want to take a look at it in the monitor here, maybe you can describe to us what you think happened.
Well, I saw it already on the medical car, and I'm gonna have my point of view. He's gonna have his point of view. My point of view, I didn't move. He moved up. Again, we gotta ask him his point of view. He's gonna say the other, whatever he thinks. My point of view is he moved. I didn't.
What was the conversation like? I know probably it was in Portuguese down there.
I mean, we're both men enough, and we're both experienced enough to first analyze who did what, and then discussed about it. And then Helio is always been pretty good, and I've always been pretty good with him. So it's a matter of go through it and go to the next race.
With a season like 2006 was for the Panther team, how bad has 2007 been?
It hasn't been what we expected, for sure. But I think the Delphi crew is again, it's doing a great job, not only trying to repair for the mistakes we had this year, but also keeping the emotions and everything up. So again, it's a shame. The car was good, was competitive, and we were picking it up. So again, we just got to go back and see what happened and go from there.
Hey guys, rest assured we'll stay here and get Helio's side as well.
All right, thanks, Jack. And I think he's right. Helio's going to say it was Vitor's fault. He thinks it's Helio's fault. Meanwhile, Sam Hornish is still trying to figure out how to make his race car run. You saw him working on the suspension to try and eliminate the problem created by the loss of the weight jacker. Let's listen in earlier in the race. We recorded this audio on Sam talking, and you get an idea of his frustration.
Just tell me what you're thinking about doing so that I have an idea of, whether or not we're even on the same page. We're talking about it right now, Sam. We can't do anything other than lower the car in order. Fits are open, we'll come in. You can put cross weight into the car. Hello, is anybody listening to me? Yeah, 10-4, just hold on, Hey, come on in for fuel only, guys, fuel only.
Okay, that was earlier. Now he is coming in down pit lane again. And maybe you ought to help explain what he was referring to and what Roger was talking about.
Well, actually, Sam was right. You can change the cross weight in the car mechanically, as we saw them doing by doing those suspension changes. So heads up thinking by the driver that's sitting in the car going around here at 215, 220 miles an hour, because he's sort of shouting out instructions to the crew. And you can see how fiery he is, how well he wants to do here. When I spoke to him the other day, he said, I just need to get a chance to be up here to win this race, take home the checkered flag. I may not be able to catch those two guys in front of me in the points championship, but at least I want to have a chance and be close. Remember, hometown race for him, over 500 family members here, both on his side of the family and his wife's side, Crystal, from Napoleon and Defiance, Ohio, which is just 45 minutes away.
Well, and you've seen the other side of, I don't want to say Jekyll and Hyde, but the twin personalities. He even admitted it in that feature we did with he and Helio. He becomes a different person when he puts that helmet on and he's in that cockpit. He is definitive, he's authoritative, and he wants it his way. You get him out of that car, and he's the quietest guy you could ever come across. You wonder, how can that be the same guy that drives like Sam Hornish drives? All right, there's Roger Penske as he has called the shots. You notice they brought him back in to top off. We're at lap 68. While we've got a moment, let's talk about next Sunday, because August 12th at 3 Eastern on ABC, you'll have the Champ Car Generac Grand Prix at Elkhart Lake. And as you probably know, Sebastian Bourdais is the points leader right now. You can see that one on ABC next Sunday. So meanwhile, as we continue under our third caution here, Dario Franchitti has made the comeback maybe of the entire race season, from 18th back to second in 6 laps, and then regaining the lead through the pit stops. And we had a chance to talk with him about how things just seem to be going right for this team this year.
It's been a good year, obviously. The big difference from last year is showing up with cars that we can win with. Going back to 05, we always felt we had cars we could win the races with. We just had horrendous luck. The difference this year is with cars we can win with, and we seem to be having some good luck. It's almost like Tony Kanaan's luck and I have flip-flopped. He's having the bad luck. You know, if he was having the same luck as me, I'm sure we'd be in there fighting week in, week out, and for the championship right now. And that's the big thing.
So there you have it from Dario's point of view, as they both, he and John Anderson, have believed in the luck. Their worst finish this year has been 7th. That was the first race of the year at Homestead. He has 12 top 10s, 11 top 5s, 3 wins. Now let's give some love and affection to some guys who have really stepped up through some great pit work. Behind Franchitti in second is Thomas Schechter. Scott Dixon's third, but Darren Manning in 4th place.
What a tremendous job he's done. When he unloaded off the trailer here the other day, that car was not very fast. I listened to him on the scanner speaking with his team. They were frustrated, did not know what to do with the car, took it back to the garage during the session as we're now back to green. They worked on that car for a whole day, and it looks like maybe some of those changes are paying off.
Green flag flies, and you can see already some slicing and dicing back towards the middle of the field. 3 wide. That looked like Kanaan down on the low side. It is. That's Scott Sharp. He went underneath. Sharp is going to then follow him as he goes underneath Dan Weldon. Take a look at our Honda lap leaders. Dario Franchitti. Remember, there's 3 bonus points at stake here. So Dixon's got to get the race lead and then lead more laps than Dario. Lead the most laps of the race to pick up those 3 bonus points.
Well, you saw the 14 car, the A.J. Foyt machine of Darren Manning, go over that bump on the center of the D section there by the start-finish line, and the back end take a big lurch underneath them. Very unsettling for a driver.
Word from IndyCar officials, they have told Tony Kanaan, pick a line, stick to it. Behind him is the 10 car Dan Weldon, and it looks like Manning is falling back a few spots now. He's under attack and is passed. That is Ed Carpenter. He gets underneath him. Here comes Danica Patrick on the low side. On the high side, it's going to be Scott Sharp. Going to go 3 wide, maybe 4.
Now Darren Manning knows that Danica Patrick is below her through the spotter channel. That information is coming through to them.
And right behind that group, here comes Sam Hornish. So the change may have helped Sam. He gets past Marco. Now he's going underneath the 8 car.
It's all Darren Manning can do to make sure that he's watching in his mirrors, because he's getting passed on the high side and the low side.
Now Marco's decided to go down low. Thought about following Sam. Now he's drifting back up. That's what's so great about this Michigan International Speedway. No matter where we point cameras, you've got guys passing.
Loved it when I drove here. I loved watching the races here.
Let's go back up front, because Thomas Schechter is not allowing Dario to escape. Let's get more on Thomas from Jackaroo.
Well, sometimes you are the most sought-after dance partner in the ballroom, and that's the case of Thomas Schechter. They have conferred, the 2 spotters upstairs, and Scott Dixon and Thomas Schechter have decided to make it a 1-2 combination to try and take over that lead spot. You can see that they keep searching, Scott Goodyear, for what's the most effective place for them to draft in that 1-2 tango.
Well, Jack, from watching from up here on this screen, I can tell you something as you see a great battle going on right now, led by Danica Patrick. Underneath her, the 20 car of Ed Carpenter. Remember, they started beside each other and maybe don't like each other the most. But I have to say that right now, Dario Franchitti has a car that's working so well for him that I'm not sure that anybody's going to be able to get past him.
Look at Marco Andretti also moving in that pack. That's from 6th on back. Danica's in 6th, Carpenter 7th, Marco in 8th. Let's get more on what was going on in the Andretti green pits from Brianne Pettigo.
Marty, there are very tight lips in Marco Andretti's pit right now. They came in there under that yellow, and Marco, they took something off the rear of the car. Nobody is saying exactly what that was, but they said they did make a change. They're looking for more speed, and they did remove something from the car. Any idea, Scott Goodyear, what that may have been?
Well, if they're laying underneath the car like they were, I didn't get a great view at it, but I got to believe they took off what they call the tunnel wickers on the end of the tunnel on the bottom of the car, and that usually gives you more downforce but creates drag. So if they took those off, maybe that's the reason why he's got just a little bit more speed than he did before. Maybe take some drag out of it for him and give him a little bit more straight line speed. So maybe they'll open up to that for us.
While all this has been going on, this has turned into a 2-pack race. Here's the front 5. It's Franchitti, Schechter, Dixon, Kanaan, and Weldon. The second pack is a little bit further back, and that's led by Danica Patrick. They're about 2 seconds behind this group.
Franchitti running over 215 miles an hour that last lap. And everybody behind 2:14.7, 2:14.8. It just seems like he's being able to be out there in front, making his own line. Like you mentioned, maybe using a little bit more fuel, but with the amount of stops that we're having right now, maybe that's not going to be an issue.
Okay, as you see all this going on, you've got Dario Franchitti and Thomas Scheckter. You know, you're wondering, why would those two teams hook up? Well, don't forget, Scheckter and Dixon were teammates back in '03 when Dixon won the championship. So you know, they remember those moments, and they're trying to help each other right now. Weldon, though, is coming up to assist as well, as you got Tony Kanaan in the mix right there. Let's get an update on Elio Castroneves. Jack Root, what have you found out?
Well, I had a chance to talk to Elio before he went into the hospital, and you know he has the laryngitis. He really wasn't quite sure, as Vitor Meira alluded to, as to who was in the wrong. But now we've been told by the medical personnel here they're going to keep him for quite some time in the infield care center because he is complaining of some unusual pain in his knee. They're debating whether to even send him down to Foot Hospital for x-rays.
All right, thanks for the update, Jack. We'll wait to get more from you if it develops. I think good thoughts. Meanwhile, out trackside, we've got a great battle with the top 5. Franchitti is still in front, but look at this mix-up going on with Scheckter, Kanaan, Dixon, Weldon right behind. Man, are they changing lanes.
Wow, that's a lot of movement by the 2-car Thomas Scheckter in the Vision Machine from one lane to the other, and a lot of hunting around by Tony Kanaan looking for a way past.
Jack, you've got more on Scheckter?
Well, we've talked all year about how Vision Racing is looking for a breakout season. Larry Curry brought 3 separate and distinct setups to the Michigan International Speedway for Scheckter, Carpenter, and A.J. Foyt IV. They took the first practice session to try and figure out which one had the advantage, and the second practice session, they put the same setup in all 3 cars. Guess what setup they elected to go with? Number 2.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, I talked to him. He loves this track. He loves the fact that he can run the high line. There is so much room here, and he has done extremely well. Of course, we've pointed out he won back in 2002. But right now, this is still anybody's race. What's more significant is keep an eye on that lap counter, folks. Remember, we've got threatening weather in the area. We are 19 laps away from making this race official.
Drivers will be aware of that inside the cockpit. Obviously, it's more of the job of the team managers to be sort of watching the radar machine up on top of their, what they call the war wagon down in the pit lane. Many computers down there. One of the computers will be switched on to the local television station to see the weather map.
You can see it's Tony Kanaan going side by side with Scott Dixon and Dan Weldon right behind him. But meanwhile, out front, it's Dario Franchitti by 0.2 of a second over Thomas Scheckter. And for Scheckter, well, it's a 6th start here. He won in '02, 3rd in '03, and '05. He likes it.
For a half turn of the front wing, his teammate Tony Kanaan also came in. Jack?
Well, Brian, here's a move by Larry Curry. He's elected to put qualifying tires on Thomas Scheckter. The reason they did that, guys, you know there was some concern as far as because of the additional pit stops, having a sufficient number of new tires to be able to change them each and every time you come down on pit road. This is the last set of quote-unquote used Firestone Firehawks that Thomas Scheckter will have to put on the car. The rest of the way, Larry Curry says, stickers and more stickers.
Well, the race off pit road was won by Dan Weldon. He picks up 4 spots, moves to the head of the heap. Dario Franchitti was 2nd. Kanaan comes back out in 3rd. Marco Andretti picks up 3. The big loser here, Thomas Scheckter, he drops back from 2nd to 6th. Out of those in the top 10 on the race off pit road. Now, the reason we are under yellow, our 4th of the day, is because of this crash by Sarah Fisher.
And you can see by the middle of turns 1 and turn 2, she was down by the lower end of the apex, right down in the middle of the 2 turns, and the car swapped ends on her and then went up towards the wall. We didn't see the section just before she got to the point that the car released underneath her, but we saw the impact. So we'll have to see if we can find out what exactly happened to her. Now, the telemetry information will tell the team that if there was something breaking on the car, a suspension piece or something of that nature, they will be able to tell that by the multitude of math channels that are on the telemetry system.
And for Sarah, she had completed 97.9% of the laps. That's her first crash this year. She was 3rd in that category. Dario Franchitti is the best. He's completed every lap but one. Thomas Scheckter gets credit for leading a lap, courtesy of the same pit lane procedure, because Dario comes in, stops before the start-finish line. There is Sam Hornish back in for some more work, as they are going to work on the front suspension on both sides of the car.
Now, when they do both sides like that, it looks like they're trying to lower the front of the car completely, maybe just down a flat or two on the suspension pieces, and it can move down only 20 or 40 thou, guys, and that can make a big change in the car. Or they can be trying to raise it up. But whatever they're doing the same on both sides. There again, the luxury of a yellow flag pit stop versus a green flag pit stop. They're getting information to the crew members that are working on the car. Cars are on the back stretch, so these guys know that they have to hustle and get this done so he does not go down a lap.
Turn 3.
You heard him say turn 3. You know that lap led by Thomas Scheckter? If I told you that's the first lap he has led this year in competition, would you believe me? It's the truth. It's the first time he's had the lead, albeit just for the one lap. Okay, you heard Roger say catch the pace car, then come back for fuel.
Well, there's a little bit of strategy, because now he's going to be at the back of the queue. So what he's going to do is come in, put as much fuel in the car as possible, and be a little bit off a sequence than everybody else by maybe just a few laps. But maybe that might just be enough to get him to the front.
All right, meanwhile, we're hearing stories about Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's currently running in 10th position, that he actually had to come in and change helmets. Jack, what's going on?
Well, I've seen Firestone Firehawk tires be changed. I've seen Wickers be changed. I've seen, well, fuel and even fuel hoses be changed. But this may be the first time a driver's had to change his helmet. But here's why, guys. Now, on the visor, which, by the way, is made out of almost bulletproof plexiglass, you usually use what they call tear-offs. Well, Ryan Hunter-Reay, in his excitement, tore all the tear-offs off and drove most of the races, you can see, with a visor that was pitted so bad that his visibility was cut down to about, well, what they would call zero clearance at Newark Airport. But how about this? He changed the helmet. They got everything back inside the head, and he's ready to go, fellas.
All right, thanks for the update. In the exuberance of youth, it's his first race on an oval since Milwaukee back in June of 2005. And he said in our 2.5-hour rain delay show earlier today that when you're out there in a group, it is a real experience. The car just wants to go everywhere.
And he was mentioning that because, like you said, he does have oval experience. He ran over at the Euro Speedway in Germany, which is a track that's similar in size, 2 miles, and high speed, much like this. But he said, boy, you better pay attention when you start to get into a group of cars, because everybody goes so fast here. It is so much pressure on the driver just to keep in line and not make any mistakes that I can feel the pressure already.
All right, so we've got Dan Weldon out in front. There is Sam Hornish. Now, Sam, he is all the way at the back of this field.
Copy that. I had my bars pulled the opposite direction because it was so loose that time. We made such a beneficial change. The bars in all directions, so hopefully this will put it a little bit back more to the middle of the spectrum. Yeah, we saw that. We knew that.
Okay, so he's talking about the bars full loose.
So that's the only cockpit adjustments that he has inside there right now, the tools that he has available to him. The weight jacker, we know, has been broken. The roll bar adjustments would stiffen up the suspension. There's one on the front, one on the rear. He has that option also. He said that he had them on soft because the changes they made previously.
One half turn left front wing, okay, Paul?
And there's some information from Roger Penske. The changes they made previous to that changed the car a fair amount. The changes they just made in the most recent pit stop, he said, I hope bring the car back into a better balance, and then we'll take the opportunity to maybe make a half wing change when they come in for fuel right here. Now, all these calculations are being done by the engineers on the war wagons down here on pit lane, and the changes, the result of those changes can be seen by the engineers on their laptop computers in pit lane via the telemetry system that these cars have.
All right, there is Dan Weldon up front, leading Dario Franchitti. He picked up 4 spots in this last pit exchange, and Jack Arute, you found out the reason why?
Yeah, Marty, and I'll tell you, it's like splitting hairs. You take out 22 gallons of ethanol. Well, here's what the Brain Trust, led by Chip Ganassi, decided. Instead of taking 22 gallons, they decided to take 21 gallons. That fraction of a second was the difference. And I asked Chip Ganassi why he short pitted like that. he says, we've got to do something to keep up with Franchitti.
Well, and here's the thing to think about, and it's a great point, Jack. I mean, we're on lap 89 of 200. This race is official at 101, and you can tell just by looking around, folks, the skies are not all that friendly.
Well, I can also tell you that everybody has their computers dialed up to onboard radar, and they are looking at a bunch of green that is heading this way, fellas.
All right, well, hopefully it stays away and we get this all in for all 200 laps. I don't think we can afford, we don't have lights here, so we can't go deep into the night.
90 laps complete.
But we do have a night race next week as we'll be heading for Kentucky. That's right, it'll be Saturday night. Kentucky Indycar 300. You'll be able to see all the action 6:30 Eastern on ESPN2.
A great racetrack, 1.5 miles in length, a half-mile shorter than what we have here at Michigan. 14-degree banking. We have 18 here. Still a very fast racetrack. Track that drivers all love. Very competitive, and I'm looking forward to a great race there.
All right, let's take a look at your top 5 right there. It's Dan Weldon, Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, Marco Andretti, and Scott Dixon. Then it's Thomas Scheckter in 6th, Scott Sharp in 7th, Danica Patrick 8th, Darren Manning 9th, and Ryan Hunter-Reay in 10th. And we're going back to green flag racing. Franchitti's making a run at the lead on the high side, and they're 4 wide behind him. Coming through to Franchitti. And he's got Tony Kanaan, his wingman. Whoa, that gets awfully close. Down the backstretch. Weldon's got the low line. Can he make it pay off? Coming out of 4, it'll be a race to the stripe. Derricka, and look at Danica Patrick back to the right there. It is Franchitti retaking the lead officially at the line, but this isn't over yet. We're going to go 3 wide into 1.
This is what I loved about this racetrack. Right from the very green flag in the start or a restart, so much racing room around here, and no matter how your car works, you can usually keep your foot on the pedal. Remember we said what to watch for? What's your mood? Well, I think Dario Franchitti came here with a complete intent of winning this race. We saw that great drive from the back up to the front again, and right now he's being aggressive, and certainly Weldon doesn't want to let him go because he knows that's points towards championship for his teammate.
We have got 8 cars in this pack that are just cutting left and right, trying to find the spot to be able to take the position. And this battle up front has gone on since the drop of the green on the restart.
One guy that looks like he's fast, looking for a lane to go right now, is Thomas Scheckter in the 2 car.
Take a look at Weldon. He's got that low line. He's hugging the bottom, Jackaroot.
Not only is he hugging the bottom, he's saying to himself, come on, come on, come on, to his teammate. Because if you look in that gaggle of cars directly in the line on the low side, here comes the number 9, the fellow target Chip Ganassi car for Scott Dixon. We know how important the draft is. All Dixon's got to do is get past Scheckter, and it could be an interesting dance routine.
Well, he got right behind him, and then he sliced to the right side to go high on Scheckter. So now we're going to go 3 wide with Scheckter being the meat in the sandwich. Weldon pulls back out in front of him, so now it's back to 2 abreast. Meanwhile, Danica Patrick stays right behind the 9 car of Scott Dixon. Down the backstretch, there is the 2 of Scheckter. He is underneath the 9 of Dixon, and of course Danica's on the high side. All this action continues behind our race leader Dario Franchitti as he picks up a 0.2 of a second lead over Tony Kanaan. Then it's Dan Weldon. Scott Dixon's up to 4th. Scheckter is 5th. Marco Andretti shown now in 6th. Danica Patrick in 7th. And look who's in 8th. Sam Hornish.
He's making the move. He looks like he's able to run the low side or the high side. Now, when you get up to a group of cars, you hope you have a car that can actually go around the high side, because there's no doubt they'll be hugging the low line going down the straightaway. Look, it looks like he does. He seems to have the ability to carry the speed out of the turn. Now Danica certainly knows that Hornish is on the high side. She moves up just a little bit through the D section, going into 1 to get her line going into 1 itself, through 2. Will she have to use the road on the exit and push Hornish up? Let's wait and see.
Jag, you've got more on Sam?
Well, a little historical perspective. The last time that Roger Penske had to command major changes on a car was all the way back when Jill DeFerrin was wheeling one of the Team Penske mounts, and DeFerrin was involved in an accident, a slight one at Texas Motor Speedway. Penske was the only man on pit road that knew he could pull his car down to a closed pitch as long as he didn't touch it. They made a list of changes that they would have to make once the pits were open. They did so, and Scott, you remember who drove to victory lane that day. Could this be an omen?
Well, certainly can, you know, because the captain himself is always thinking outside the box of what can be done. That's why he leads an $11 billion corporation. And this is his fun on the weekends, and certainly he knows how to get the job done.
Jack, you can tell Roger, his driver, Kurt Busch, won the Cup race over in Pocono. We just found that news out. Of course, knowing Roger, he probably already has that information in hand. Meanwhile, this race action up front continues, and yes, the Target Chip Ganassi team is finally hooked up. They are running in 3rd and 4th. So there is Dario with Tony Kanaan, his wingman. Let's take a look at the points right now. If the race ended, there would be a jump back in the favor of Dario Franchitti. Remember, it was 24 coming in. It would be 45 at this point. And remember, Franchitti is well on his way to having the bonus points for leading the most laps. And folks, one more lap, this race is official. We're halfway. Keep an eye on Danica and Sam right now as they're duking it out for 7th and 8th. Of course, the last few races, Danica has been doing quite well. 2 thirds, a 5th on the road course at Mid-Ohio. She talked about the success that she's had running towards the front.
The important part, and this is something that I've always really believed, is that you need to be in a position to be able to take that win and fall into the spot. And so, as you know, you have to run up front every weekend, and I think that running up front every weekend is something that we've been doing in the last good few races now, and so the win will come quick.
And we can tell you now, this race is official. We have completed lap 101, getting ready to complete lap 102 here at Michigan.
Well, it seems like in the last couple of laps, the 7 car on the low side there, the Motorola machine with Danica Patrick aboard, seems like she's actually got the car working just a little bit better. On the high side, you saw Marco Andretti, the 26 machine. Looks like he's just starting to fall off the pace here the last couple of laps, and Danica now takes that position from him.
Meanwhile, all this going on, we've got people obviously that have specific jobs in each of these camps. We have chefs, we have physical trainers, and Brienne, you're telling me now what, AGR has their own meteorologist?
Well, you could call him that, Marty. I just got an update from Brian Page, who the AGR team dubs their official weatherman. He, of course, is not the weatherman. He's the assistant race engineer for Tony Kanaan, and he's also the son of our friend Paul Page. But he pulled up the radar map that he's been keeping an eye on, and he says we are all clear. There is no rain coming in the near future. Guys, I trust his word, because on Friday here at the racetrack, a local news station sent their own meteorologist to interview him.
Well, he's on the hook now because we're going the rest of the distance on his word. Meanwhile, back out on track, his guy Tony Kanaan is in 2nd place right now, trying to hold back the charging Dan Weldon and Scott Dixon. This is exactly what we were talking about in the pre-race. Tony said, if I can help my teammate, I will.
And what's going on right now with Target Chip Ganassi teams, Dan Weldon and Scott Dixon, that are running 3rd and 4th, they're trying to think about ways to make their car faster in the next stop. As a driver, that's what you're doing right now. You're giving the information back to the team and saying, this is what's happening on the entrance to the turn, the middle of the turn, and the exit. They need to make those cars faster, guys, because right now, Andretti Green Racing, I think, got both of them covered.
And I know some of you are at home saying, well, wait a minute, how can Tony do anything else to help? Well, what he's done by putting himself in 2nd place, he takes those 2nd place points away from Scott Dixon. And Dixon right now is back in 5th. So you give your teammate that much more protection in the points. by helping him score more than the other guy. Look at Danica Patrick at the back of that line. She is fighting it out with Dixon right now, and that is for 5th on the racetrack. So just about when we talked about her running up front, she's starting to make a move towards the front. Meanwhile, it is still Dario Franchitti up front, Tony Kanaan, Dan Weldon, Thomas Schechter, Scott Dixon, and Danica Patrick. That's your top 6 as we're going to go side by side here at Michigan at the Firestone Indy 400. Does Dario lengthen the points lead? Or does Tony Kanaan sneak around for a win? Back here at Michigan International Speedway, you haven't missed a thing thanks to side by side, and the action's been good as you were able to see some of the slicing and dicing. Let's get to our GoDaddy.com trivia question. 12 drivers have earned their first open wheel victory at Michigan. Who is the only one to win from the pole? If you were with us the rain delay earlier today, you know the answer to this one. So go ahead and tell me.
No, the man is currently in 3rd and about ready to take over 2nd. Thomas Schechter won from the pole in 2002. There's not enough room there, guys.
Oh, hang on. And it looked like Kanaan said the better part of valor was to drop back. So there is Danica Patrick going around. Just all it takes is if you lift just a little bit, it costs you. The longer this run goes, the better Danica's car has performed. She has moved herself up to 4th. She's duking it out with Weldon for 5th. Now, she did get an assist, as we mentioned, from Tony when Kanaan had to lift.
Well, anytime you can take advantage of anybody else's misfortune, even a teammate, you're going to go ahead and do that. But give her credit, boy, she's really gelled with this team so far this year with Andretti Green Racing. She's been competitive at most of the events this year. Surprised is at Mid-Ohio with her qualifying in the top 6 for what they call the Fast 6 shootout. And she is aggressive. Born not far away in Roscoe, Illinois, just 25 years old. Said that she would love to win here, but she said, you know something? Oh, here we go.
Got to crash hard into the wall. That is Darren Manning here on lap 113.
That was a huge, huge crash, guys. That was hard into the wall.
You okay, Dan?
A little movement inside the cockpit.
What happened there?
Throws the steering wheel out, so yes, you know he's alert. And this is a time, Marty, when you're sitting inside the car, you wiggle your toes, you move your hands, and make sure everything's still functioning, because with such a hard hit like this, he certainly felt that.
A.J. Foyt looking on. Of course, each team has a monitor. They can see what we see. Delphi safety team checking out Darren before they let him get out of the car. And let's go back and take another look.
Now you can see he's just behind a group of cars. Did something happen to the car? Was the car a little bit loose? That's where the back end seems to always want to come around on you. And maybe the dirty air, disturbed air from all the cars that were in front just made the car loose enough that the back end spun around and took him towards the wall. And once that car starts to spin like that, you are then just a passenger. And watch his hand when this car hits the wall. The tire comes up, it's coming inside the cockpit. Now watch the tire come down and watch his hand. He's got his hand in the cockpit. He's trying to push the tire out from the cockpit.
Taking one more look, this first angle that we had.
Remember, this is at 215, 218 miles an hour. He knows the car is gone. He locks up the brakes, tries to slow it down as much as possible, but you are just along for the ride.
All right, we're getting word that the pits are open, and still waiting to see, and it looks like Darren is out of the car and looks to be a-okay as they put him in the Delphi safety vehicle and take him to the infield care center. We'll get an update. Meanwhile, everybody has got tires laid out ready for pit stops here on lap 115 as we have 200 to go to finish this one off.
And as we heard through Brianne, that Brian Page, the, let's call him the meteorologist with the Andretti Green Racing team, thinks it will go clear all the way for 200 laps. So maybe teams are now changing their strategy a little bit. Look for tire changes also this run.
If it does, we're going to get him that AMS seal, that big fancy thing that all the TV guys have. All right, we're getting ready for pit stops. Everybody's waving. Let's go to Brienne.
Well, our leader is pulling into his pit stall as we speak. They are taking 4 tires, filling it up with that 22 gallons of ethanol. No changes to the 27 of Dario Franchitti. He is away. Jack?
Meanwhile, Brian, full 22 gallons and new Firestone Firehawk. The car number 2, and Dan Weldon is also out as we continue to have this drag race down to pit out.
Of the 3 on the triple pits, 7.2 seconds for Dario Franchitti. And remember, they have had trouble with that right rear tire changer, and they made a change this week again, and so far it's paid dividends. Dario is first off pit road. Dan Weldon picks up a spot. Schechter loses one. Scott Dixon picked up 2 as we go side by side. Well, there you see what's left of the number 14 of Darren Manning after the hard contact with the wall, as we are under our 5th caution. That ties us for the most in the 6 races that we are now held here at Michigan in the IndyCar Series. Let's take a look now at our race recap as Dario Franchitti leads again under this yellow. And as it's been an up and down day, the down part was when Dario stalled in the pits, comes back from 18th to 2nd in 6 laps, and then took the lead thanks to his pit crew getting him in and out in speedy type fan. Then it was John Herb being the first to crash out of the race. He backs it into the wall hard, coming out of turn number 2. Nobody else involved. And then Milka Duno just sort of lost fire and coasted on out, so her day was Duno. And then we had the Elio Castroneves Vitor Mirror incident. Still waiting for an update on Elio again. We'll get more from Jack Root in a matter of a moment. And the frustration on both was quite apparent, especially for Elio. And then it was Sarah Fisher as she hit the wall in turn 2 as she made contact. Then we also had another crash, the 4th of the day, and the one that put us under our current caution. That is Darren Manning, and we'll get another update on him. He did get out of the car and is on his way to the infield care center. So there is Dario Franchitti, but let's get more on Elio Castroneves. Jack?
Well, we told you the last time, Marty, they were going to check his knee for x-rays. The x-rays came back negative, but he did leave the speedway on crutches. We did get a chance to talk to him, however, and the only complaint that he had is he felt that Vitor Mirror was driving too, and I quote, aggressively for that point in time in the race. But he is already on his way to the airport and back home to Miami.
All right, what's interesting about that, it shows you how sometimes your emotions can override the pain, because he was stomping and walking, and I probably didn't even feel it at that point, and then he gets into the infield care center, and all of a sudden, that shooting pain, you've had that experience.
He probably walked a quarter of a mile because he was down turns 1 and 2 in the care centers down at the entrance of pit lane, so there's no doubt about that. Remember, he's got to be back in the car next week at Kentucky.
Good news for all your Dario Franchitti fans. He has clinched the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps in this race. There is nothing anyone else can do about that fact. And as we go back, let's take another look at Dario's pit stop. And we've got some conflicting information. We had a report that there was a change this week on the right rear tire changer, but Brianne, jump in on this. You're saying that it has not been a change?
Well, it was a change, Marty, but that change took place at Iowa. Don Skinner, who is technically part of Marco Andretti's team and changes the outside rear for the 26, was brought over to Dario's car because Marco was really not in the chase for the championship, so they wanted him, because he's so good at changing that right rear, on Dario's car. So that change was made in Iowa.
Okay, so now we've got it all straightened out as we're getting ready to go back to green flag racing here. We've completed 119 laps. There you can see our Honda lap leaders, and you can see there is nothing anybody can do about Dario clinching those 3 bonus points, as there's just not enough laps left, no matter what they could do. Also, we heard some reports that keep your eyes on Danica Patrick. A couple of the drivers were saying she was a bit erratic out on the track, not holding her line. But we've heard that before about a lot of people.
And I've seen that today by quite a few people also. So this is Michigan. You're going at such a speed going through the turns. And when you're running in packs like this, if your car pushes you up the road just a little bit on the exit, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. Now, yeah, you can take your foot off the pedal and make the car go a little slower, but there's not a driver out there today, Marty, that's going to do that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk quickly about next Sunday, August 12th, 3 Eastern in ABC. It is the Champ Car at Elkhart Lake Race, and you'll see it on ABC Sunday, August 12th, 3 Eastern. All right, as we're getting down the back stretch, we're getting word. We're going to go green this time by. Dario Franchitti will set the pace. Dan Weldon right behind him, followed by Thomas Scheckter, Danica Patrick, Scott Dixon. Here we go. Already a battle for third. That's Danica looking underneath Scheckter. And she's got the position.
That's the first time all day I've seen her car down on the low line, down by the white line, and sticking. So maybe some changes in that last pit stop to help her do that, because she seems like she had preferred the middle or high line.
So move Danica to third. Right now, Dan Weldon and Dario Franchitti trying to decide who's going to lead. And whoa, it looks like we got a little slicing and more dicing.
Franchitti's got a car that seems to be working well, obviously, but a little move by Weldon going on the high side now, followed by Scheckter on the top line.
Look who else is starting to sneak into this picture. The 26 of Marco Andretti side by side with Danica. And look at Weldon out in front and Scheckter on the high side.
This is like bumper rush hour traffic when they're only doing 5 or 10 miles an hour. And these guys are out here doing 215.
So come by the stripe this time, move Dan Weldon officially into the lead, put Thomas Scheckter up to second, and Dario Franchitti back to third. Danica Patrick fourth, Marco Andretti fifth, Tony Kanaan sixth, Sam Horner seventh, and well, everybody's in there too.
Well, just as I said that Danica Patrick looked like she had a car that worked well on the low side, seems like she's losing speed right in the middle of the turn right now. Maybe she's having to get off the throttle just a little bit because she's starting to lose the speed on the exit of the turn. You can see right there. So look for her to maybe resort back up to the high side. Her car's not working well for her after these couple of laps after the restart.
Yeah, Kanaan, Hornish, Dixon, Weldon, about everybody got past her. Weldon was already past her, I should say, as she is going to drop back and is still having some issues. Look at this, down the backstretch. That was Marco having to put two wheels under the line. Battle up front as looks like Weldon's got his hands full. At the stripe, it is Weldon with Dario Franchitti now back into second officially. Scheckter third. Tony Kanaan moves up to fourth. Danica has dropped all the way back to ninth. Meanwhile, this is where all the action is. You want to have camera time, you got to be in the front five.
Talk about five in the 5 races that we've had here. There's been 5 different winners. Just goes to show you how competitive this race is. This will be a race where track position will mean everything. Coming down with 10 laps to go, 5 laps to go, down to the last lap, probably even down the last turn, and the drive off of turn 4 towards the stripe.
We have 74 laps remaining in this one, and the fans that stuck out the rain delay have been rewarded with a great race so far. Look at this. Throw a blanket over it. Down the backstretch, Kanaan's on the outside. Look at Hornish. The adjustments that this team has made manually on this race car throughout this 400-mile race are starting to finally really pay some dividends. Look out, Scheckter started to drift up.
Oh, just one movement causes consequences for somebody else. But Hornish, as you mentioned, Marty, seems like he's got a fast car. Goes to try to get to the middle groove right now. Pushes Kanaan high. I'm just still amazed that Sam Hornish had the presence of mind to call for a change, a mechanical change on the car from the cockpit. It's supposed to show you just how much he's thinking about what's going on with his race car as he's out there driving at 215 miles an hour.
Keep keep an eye up front. Where you're saying, wait a minute, where's Scott Dixon? Well, he's dropped back. He's following Marco Andretti right now, as Dixon has dropped into the 9th position. Marco's 8th. Danica Patrick's moved back up to 7th. I mean, it's like every 2 laps you sort of flip-flop about 2, 3, 4 positions.
And you have to be aggressive when it's group racing like this if you want to be able to pass. And right now, Dixon just seems to be having a problem finding momentum to get past the cars in front. Jack Arute, you have more?
Yeah, it's been interesting, Scott, talking with Mike Hull, who's the tactician for Scott Dixon. I asked him, I said, is it a case of momentum? Is he, is there a problem? He said, no, we really talked about the fact that we want to be in a position to race for the last 15 miles. As soon as the radar cleared, you saw the aggressiveness go out of the Target Chip Ganassi number 9, and they seem to be satisfied to just cruise and watch until we get to that magic 350-mile mark.
Well, I'll tell you what's been fun is the fact we've had 14 lead changes, 6 different leaders, and this one is far from over yet, guys, as we're working lap 129 of 200.
And one guy is not going to sit back and wait, because he usually is not a patient driver. Thomas Scheckter in the 2 machine, who right now is sitting in 2nd, just went past Franchitti, has his sights set on Weldon directly up ahead.
And you can see if the race ended at this moment, the points lead would go back to the plus side again for Dario Franchitti, as he would pick up points on 2nd place Scott Dixon. But we're still, like I said, a long way from this one being over. In fact, Dario right now has got his hands full with Thomas Scheckter right underneath him. That's a battle for 2nd. Weldon's out in front. And remember, folks, Weldon did not look that good in practice, did not qualify that well. But that's the thing about this racetrack. You never know. If you find that balance, bam, you're right up front.
And that's when your car just seems to go through the turn without any effort of making the car turn by the steering wheel itself. And we saw Danica Patrick go from the low line to the high line right there. Looks like she's searching cars down below the white line. So you see Dixon right now carrying momentum. Now, if you get pushed below the white line, as he did right there, that is not a penalty. If you carry momentum and pass down below the white line to pass a car, then yes, that is a penalty. But right now, there's no doubt there's a lot of weaving and dicing going on right now, all at 215, 218 miles an hour.
Scott Dixon, you saw him duking it out with Sam Hornish. That was for 5th. Dixon had it at the stripe. How long he'll hold on to it is anybody's guess. Meanwhile, let's go 3 wide for the race lead down the back stretch. You've got Weldon, Scheckter, Franchitti, and we're going to do this all the way into 3. Hang on. Scheckter decides to tuck in behind Dan Weldon, and we're getting word, Jack Arute, you've caught up with Darren Manning.
Yeah, and you want to know how hard that impact was, Darren Manning? Your knees did what?
My knees? Oh, yeah, they, as I went backwards into the wall, they came back through and wiped out the steering wheel, so I've got a couple of big gashes, and they stapled me up with some metal staples, so at least AJ will be proud I got some metal in my body now. But no, it was a big shame for the ABC crew and all of the Foyt racing. We weren't so quick at the beginning of the run on new tyres, but once everybody else's cars started going off, mine just stayed real good. And unfortunately, the cars in front, they weren't able to hold their line so much, and they kept crossing my bow. And I was just really trying to move my way right to the front on that long green flag run. And I think Marco, no fault of his own, he just crossed my bow and just took all the air off, and I pushed and I got loose as I came back into the air, and that was it.
We're happy to see that you're okay. Look forward to seeing you in Kentucky.
Cheers, pal.
Well, it's good to see him okay, but a couple of gashes in his knee. That gives you an idea of the ferocity of the impact. Meanwhile, look at this battle up front. We got to make way here. We're going to go side by side, but Dario Franchitti, he led that lap, but here comes Dan Weldon right back. Will he lead the next one? You won't miss a thing. Weldon, remember, last 3 years, he's finished 3rd, 2nd, and 3rd. Does he win this year? Stay with us. Back here at Michigan, and while we were in side-by-side, Thomas Scheckter went from being in the lead pack to being in the back of the lead pack to now being back up to 3rd. Let's go back and show you what happened to him.
Oh, the group in front almost touch, and here you get an opportunity for Kanaan to take a little bit of that momentum and go around the high side. But I think Kanaan, as Kanaan's going on the high side, you see Schechter in the middle, get the dirty air from the cars in front, and that's a moment, Marty, at about 215 miles an hour. But you know something? That is classic Michigan right there.
And again, yeah, everybody, I hope you'll bear with us. The weather precluded us from having the helicopter up. Normally we'd have 6 onboards right now, and we'd be showing you wheel to wheel. But the ceiling is so low, we just can't get the helicopter high enough to get the signal. So I'm hoping that the excitement from just watching these drivers from the outside has been good enough, because there's nothing else we can do right now. Jack, you've got more on Thomas Schechter?
Yeah, I just checked with David Cripps, the tactician for Thomas Schechter. As we've said so many times here in Michigan, driving here is like a giant flywheel. And what happened is all of a sudden he lost his momentum. But David Cripps sounds very, very confident right now. He says, we just want to be there for the last 20 miles. Let's go to Brienne.
Jack, Danica Patrick is getting instructions from Kim Green, her race strategist, to work with teammate Dario Franchitti. She's been told to help push him around the top of the racetrack. When she was doing that earlier, that's when she lost momentum on her car. Nothing physically happened to the car. She simply lost momentum and dropped back to 9th. So we'll see if, as she helps her teammate get around Dan Weldon, whether or not she can hold herself up at the top of that pack.
Well, right now, as you've got Franchitti on the outside trying to go 3 wide down the backstretch, and he doesn't need anybody's help because he's doing it on his own. Weldon down low, look out, Schechter in the middle, and Schechter may have had to give it a little breath.
You know, it's amazing because we've been watching these cars now for a couple of hours, and they seem like they're just going around side by side, but when you're inside the cockpit, the car's moving around. You're trying to hold it straight. Let's listen to this. Hear all that information coming in from the spotters and the team managers. But what happens inside the cockpit, as we see Kanaan now trying the low line going underneath Schechter, is that you get into traffic, you start to turn the car, the steering wheel gets light. Do you turn it more? Do you just leave it and have the car return to you? All these feelings the drivers are going through each and every turn throughout here, just like it's a normal day's drive down to the office.
Well, Danica has caught up to Dario. Danica has gotten in lockstep with him. We're going to find out if it's going to be able to push him to the lead, because here they go. As it is right down low with Dan Weldon, Dario and Danica on the high side. And here comes Marco. Oh, look out! Airborne! Franchitti's upside down. Dixon is involved. The wheels touched. Weldon is involved.
Airborne up here, got up into the pit. We got him coming down. Copy that. Scott, you okay?
Looks like Sam Hornish also involved. And right now, folks,
yeah, he got hit in the head.
Think good thoughts. The Delphi safety crew is heading for Dario. And from this angle, obviously, we can't see a thing.
We've seen Marco Andretti get airborne and go over this year, but not at the speed.
Remember, we're lapping
this type of impact that Dario had.
Between 215 and 218.
These cars are built just like a jet fighter. They are so strong. The roll bars in them themselves are very strong. We've seen this before where the cars go over, land on the roll bar. Once they right the car, the driver just pops out, brushes himself off, and sometimes wishes he had a spare car to hop in to keep going.
We saw a shot of Thomas Schechter. He had already pulled into pit lane, and there he is. And they are bringing Dario's car over, and they're going to try and bring it down very gently.
These cars weigh 1,525 pounds. Sam Hornish is at the back of the car. And there's Dario taking the steering wheel off, will unbuckle his 6-way harness.
This is incredible. The integrity of the cockpit of this car. Guys, start breathing easy. Your guy's okay.
You saw his team just a moment ago start to see him get out of the car and start to applaud.
There's Scott Dixon. He was out. He comes over to check Dario. Is that Terry Trammell with his back to us there talking to him?
He is. Terry was my doctor through 2 fractured backs in my career. Some of the best people here on the Delphi safety team travel with the Indycar series each and every event.
So there's Dan Weldon as well, as he was swept up in this multi-car crash. Sam Hornish, we know, was involved. Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti. It looks like Ed Carpenter may have been involved as well. There is the list. A.J. Foyt IV. So a total of 6 drivers. And boy, that is the best sight I've seen all day.
Absolutely. Through all this melee now with 55 laps to go, with all the damage we have, Danica Patrick, who's been so aggressive running in that front group all day, is listed as the leader.
Remember a little bit earlier in the broadcast we had talked about the laps completed. Up until this moment, Dario had completed all but 1 lap of the entire 2007 season. All right, Jack Arute, you've caught up with Thomas Schechter.
Yeah, he's made his way back to his pit stall. And Thomas, take us through what happened out there.
I tell you what, that was some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen. And just 2 cars touched. It was, you know, Dario was pushing really hard. I think, you know, Dario was wanting to come down, and Dan wanted to come up a bit. And all I saw, I mean, I saw Dario backwards, upside down in the air. I was fully slammed on the brakes. I didn't know whether he was going to come straight into my foot. Well, honestly, just one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And pity because we were running so good, you know, and with no other teammates up there, it was good. So look forward to the next race.
Well, on pit road, Danica Patrick's getting service, Brienne.
I am headed that way, guys. She is out. I don't believe they've made any changes to that car. They were planning on lining up all 3 teammates left of AGR and taking away from the rest of the pack.
Well, it was not a good pit stop, we can tell you, Brian. They were having trouble with the left front tire as as she loses 4 spots, drops from the race lead down to 5th. Marco Andretti's going to come off the race of pit road first. Matsura picks up 2 spots. Buddy Rice picks up 3 through all this. I mean, Buddy has been a non-factor throughout the day, but all of a sudden, because of what happened through this 6-car crash, he's back into the mix.
And we saw Scott Sharp getting some repair work on his car, a new nose on the front of his car, so he obviously had some damage during that melee also.
So we should tell you that right now we are down to 7 cars running as a result of this 6-car crash, because we had other incidents throughout the day. So let's go back and take a look at this and watch the wheels.
Now the left rear of the car on top, the 27 car, and then the car on the right front wheel of Dan Weldon. Looked like Dan was just trying to move up towards the right just a little bit, and his right front wheel on his target machine got the Canadian Club machine up in the air. And see everything else going on there. The parts are just strewn everywhere, and the real lucky guy in this, Marty, I think really was Thomas Schechter, because of everything coming down on top of his car. He could end up having the car land right inside the cockpit.
Also, watch Scott Dixon. He almost had the same situation. Watch the 9 car come in here.
Up and over.
See right there. I mean,
absolutely.
Wow.
Actually, it's the 22 of AJ Foyt, not Thomas Schechter, excuse me.
I mean, those 2 guys, very, very fortunate.
Remember, this is 215, 218 miles an hour.
It goes right up and over the 9 car.
Now, I've been upside down before, and I'll tell you, it's the most eerie thing because it's quiet. There's no longer any road noise. You're not going along the road surface whatsoever. You get in the air, and yes, there's some crashing that's going on before you get in the air, but when you're in the air, it's very, very quiet, and then you come down to just a flurry of noise when the car makes impact back down with the ground.
Take one more look at it. Now keep an eye on Dixon coming in right here. See what I mean?
Oh.
That is so close, so close. And then right over on top of AJ the 4th. 2 very lucky guys. Well, 6 very lucky guys.
Remember the speed that we spoke about, 218, maybe even 20 miles an hour now going down there. And we're just talking about touching just for a moment. The 2 tires get together, and as soon as the rubber tires touch each other, the cars are off. And we talk about the drivers having no control at that point in time, and then you're just a passenger. And the weird thing is for drivers too, coming up from behind, is that you see the car upside down. Now here is something you don't generally see very often because cars are not usually upside down. But look at the damage. Sam Hornish in his Team Penske Marlboro suit that he's got going on right there at the very back of the car is there to help also. Wow.
And then this was the best sight of all when we saw Dario take off the steering wheel. All right, let's get back to what we have out on the racetrack. There are 7 cars running. Marco Andretti is now your race leader as a result of the cycle of pit stops. Kosuke Matsuura is in 2nd. Tony Kanaan 3rd. Danica Patrick 4th. Scott Sharp 5th. Ryan Hunter-Reay 6th. Buddy Rice is in pit lane right now, listed in 7th. They are working on his car.
Now we're lap 148 going on 149, and depending how long this yellow is, we're certain to need one more pit stop to get through the end of this race. So still going to have to be a little bit of strategy happening for some of the players that are out there right now.
Might be a little damage on Buddy Rice's car. They're working underneath. We're going to step aside, go side by side. This will take a little bit of time to clean up. We're about 3/4 of the way through this. Under our record-setting 6th caution here at Michigan International Speedway, and Danica Patrick came in with the race lead. Michael Andretti looking on. He's still okay as his son now leads. He's got 3 cars still in the 7 that are running, but it was a rough pit stop for Danica. Brienne, you've got more on what happened down there?
Marty, apparently she missed her pit box by just enough to cause a problem with changing that left front tire. She, of course, not very happy about that, but as soon as she left pit lane, her crew went right to work, calming her down, telling her they've got a fast car. She's got her teammates here to help her and to relax. The race is not over yet.
Well, and we have some her radio conversation. Let's listen in.
Sorry. Okay, we've got a fast car now. We've got to focus. We've got a fast car. We've got our teammates too that we're going to be racing. We've just got to be very, very good and very, very patient on this restart.
Okay, so Kim Green telling her be patient on the restart.
So much experience with Andretti Green Racing Team within that team, and Kim Green. His brother Barry started that team many years ago. Kim Green is now one of the owners, along with Michael Andretti and Kevin Savary. And you don't want anybody else, I think, that has more experience other than Kevin up there helping her, because he's been, I think, one of the strong suits for her this year and giving her a lot of confidence. And I think that's one of the reasons, along with many other things in the team, Marty, why we've seen her just continue to progress and be confident and be aggressive like she has been today.
We still have 50 laps to go, and Jack Arute, you've caught up with AJ Foyt the fourth.
Yeah, and I want to show you his helmet. Those are the scars from this accident. AJ, what was that? That looks like a tire.
That is Dario's tire, but it's unfortunate. We were having a pretty good race, and just thank God Dario's okay and everybody else involved. And unfortunate for our team, we worked hard all weekend. Now we got a couple tore up cars to take to Kentucky, so it's going to be a long week for the guys, and hopefully we'll go to Kentucky and come out with a better result.
Let's update you as well. Sam Hornish was out of the car, and he is going to go back out into the racetrack. So he rushed back to his pit stall. They're going to try and effect repairs, believe it or not. Because remember, guys, every point counts, especially when you've only got 7 or 8 cars still out there?
7 cars still on the track, and yeah, Sam is shown listed officially right now in 14th. As you can see, we still have a lot of cleanup to go through here, as there is Sam's car being towed in. They're going to have some suspension damage. But it's also important when you're looking at the overall picture from the points championship. Of course, Tony Kanaan is in that top 5 mix, and he's running 3rd right now. Remember that as of this moment, your points leader is out. Scott Dixon, 2nd place, is out. Dan Weldon is out. And Sam Hornish is, in the pits having to make repairs. So this could be an opportunity for Tony to pick up some points. And as you can see, he's up to 3rd with an only 99 back with still the race to go.
Well, that's a lot of damage on that 6 machine of his car right now. I'm looking at that. He's got left front suspension, right front suspension, both rear suspensions, the rear wing also of Sam Hornish's machine. That's a lot of work to get done here in the next couple of laps.
All right, Jack, you've caught up with Ed Carpenter?
Yeah, they keep coming out, and the good news is all of them keep coming out walking under their own power. Okay, what happened?
To be honest, I don't know. You know, I saw smoke, then I saw Dario up in the air, and I just trying to slow down, and my brakes really weren't working right, and couldn't get slowed down as quick as I would have liked. But you couldn't see. People started going through the grass. I mean, I was trying to stay low because I knew he was up high. I didn't want to run into anybody. But everyone seemed to be okay in there. That's the most important thing. That, you know, Indycar Series does a great job with the safety of these cars, and we should all be thankful for that.
And let's take a look at the pit stop on Danica Patrick.
Looked like they put a turn or two in the
It looked like maybe some wing was coming out, I think, was what they were doing on that right front. So obviously an opportunity to make a fuel addition here just in the last couple of laps. Now, we talked about that everybody's going to need one more fuel stop, but maybe this is a situation here with Kim Green where he takes the opportunity, as we've seen the Penske team do many times, changing the strategy and give her a full tank of fuel right now, 22 gallons. And we know you can get 30, 35 laps per tank full. Maybe with another yellow somewhere sprinkled in here, maybe she makes it to the end without another stop.
Well, it gives her 7 laps in hand over the top 4 cars of Marco Andretti, Koski Matsuura, Tony Kanaan, and Scott Sharp. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I mean, we'll have to wait and see if it becomes a factor.
But you just get that couple of laps of yellow there, and maybe she doesn't need to come in for a splash and go at the end, which is a possibility. But the other thing that happens here, too, is because you don't have that many cars on the track. And there's Kim Green sending along some information to her, but probably telling her because you don't have that many cars on the track right now, she doesn't have that far to go from being position that she's in 7th up to the front.
Well, and the other thing to remember, even if she does have to stop, she doesn't need to stop as long as the other guys because she's got those 7 laps in hand. And we're talking about a 2-mile layout here, folks, so that's 14 total miles. So it's, what, about 3 miles per gallon of ethanol? You can do the math, figure it out. All right, so right now we continue with continue with the cleanup here at the Michigan International Speedway after, as we said, our 6th record-setting caution in this event. We now have 47 laps to go. And the 7 cars that are still out there are all on the lead lap. Danica being the tail end of, as you like to call it in Canada, the queue. See, I just made his day, folks. I said something Canadian.
We're close to Canada. There's a Canadian flag down here at Michigan International Speedway, so thank you.
All right. Well, how about Marco Andretti? You know, we documented well throughout the day. Yeah, that's just for you. The guys in the truck did that just for you. You know, we documented how his lack of success this year on the 1.5 and larger ovals, 5 total DNFs. Well, here he is with a chance to possibly win this race.
Remember, he's had situations earlier this year where the car was not doing so well for him. Actually, he said it was scary to drive, where he actually got out of the car, parked it. But here, obviously, now maybe a few more races underneath his belt. He learns how to make changes with the car throughout the pit stops, make the car a little bit better. And now he finds himself leading the Michigan event here, which his father won twice.
Well, we have a great possibility of a 6th different winner in the 6 races we've held at Michigan. Only the 2004 winner, Buddy Rice, is still in the event. He's running in 6th. And think about this. First-time wins. We talked about the fact there were 12 here at Michigan. Koski Matsuura would be a first-time winner. And then you would have Ryan Hunter-Reay, Danica Patrick. So those 3 could pick up their very first career wins in open wheel racing. All right, so there's Ryan Hunter-Reay as he's coming in to possibly top off with fuel. And yes, that's exactly what they're doing. So he is picking up even a little bit more advantage as Ryan pits at 154. So he has 8 laps in hand over the 4 cars out front. Of course, for Danica, this would be her best finish here in 3 runs at Michigan. She hasn't done very well here at all in the past. In fact, if you remember last year, she finished 17th. The year before that, she was 20th. And of course, last year was so frustrating for her because we had rain delay and then she ran out of fuel right near the end.
Danica Patrick's 16 machine will slow, and it looks like she will pull off the track in turn number 1.
Danica, she is just furious. So does she make up for all the frustration or not? We're going to find out. This is going to be an interesting shootout between these 7 once we go back to green flag racing.
You got some drivers here with experience who have won here before, as you mentioned, and now you got some drivers here who have never won and are looking for their first win. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how this plays out. Remember, we talked about it earlier in the show. What's your mood? You really got to be ready to put your foot on the gas here if you're going to win this event. And to do this in the last 50 laps, there's no doubt that's exactly what this is going to take.
Hey, Jack, I got a question for you as we see the Ganassi team working over Scott Dixon's car. Obviously, they're trying to get back. Can you talk? We have not had a full green flag run. We don't know how many laps today somebody can actually go. Is there anybody down there who would quietly tell us exactly what they think?
Marty, if they told us, they would have to kill us.
Well, but but
I will be honest. Marty, I will be honest with you. I would have loved to have had a chance to talk to Scott Dixon, but unfortunately, as he was going to his trailer, security decided that it was not appropriate for us to do our job. So we're out here back on pit road, and it's a case where you got to understand when you're in the midst of a points chase, and we've seen it so many times, guys, maybe 1 point or 2 points can be the 2 points can be the difference at the end of the season. So everybody's hustling.
Hey, remember last year it was a tie, folks. I mean, it came down to the tiebreaker. So it's exactly right. But I'm really interested. I'm wondering if anybody, Brienne, see if you can talk to anybody who thinks they know exactly, now that they've seen all the fuel calculations, how many laps can we run under green?
Well, I think those people, those people that probably just did that, Marty, are probably shooting on that simply because you're giving reports back as a driver to tell them how many more laps you think it's going to be to clean up the repairs that are on the racetrack. And, we still may have 5 or 8 laps left.
So we'll find out if we can, exactly. And now, let's see. Jack, you've caught up with Kim Green.
Marty, my job is to serve you. Kim, let me ask you a question. Have you been able to figure out just how many green flag laps you can actually make on a tank of fuel with all the starts and stops we've had?
I mean, certainly probably only around about 35, I would think. Maybe 36, around 35 mark. Really depends on the pace towards the end. I think the leader will find it a bit more difficult to make the mileage than a guy sitting behind. So at this point, I think everybody's going to have to come back in and get some sort of a splash. And this is this yellow goes for a lot longer.
How many more laps would you need before you could go at the end?
I think we probably need another 10 laps of yellow probably, but I'm not 100% certain. We topped off in the hope maybe everybody else will come back in and we'll gain some track position, but it's going to be interesting. It's a bit of a shootout.
Indeed it will. Brienne?
Well, Jack, Marco Andretti's engineer, Eddie Jones, just told me that they're agreeing with Kim Green. 35 laps would be the ultimate stretch of green flag racing on 1 tank of fuel. But Marco is only about 11 laps away from coming into that crucial fuel window.
Well, and Tony Kanaan, his teammate, we saw while Jack was talking to Kim, he came in on lap 157. So add 35, he's going to come up a little short, but that gives him more laps in hand. The same thing we've talked about.
Well, it does, unless we talked about before, just having another yellow for maybe a lap or 2 or debris or something like that. You only need a 2 or a 3 or 4 lap caution period again for these people to maybe make it all the way to the end. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Marco Andretti come in here, maybe just at the tail end of what this repair is going to be out in the racetrack as we watch Koski-Masur coming in. You see again the fuel hose being hooked up, no tires being taken on, just adding fuel. And I think everybody's going to try and stay out there as long as possible and take the last opportunity to come in before they close the pits to put fuel on, because you just might make it.
Well, Koski comes in on lap 157. We have 43 laps to go, so he's still short, but again, it's what we've talked about. That last stop will be a lot less that you have to take for that splash and go if it does happen under green. Jet dryers, you can see out there trying to get all the fluids and everything that got tossed about. Marco makes a quick jab. I don't know if he saw something on the tracks or it's down the long backstretch where, of course, the contact occurred. And talk about people that have stopped. Now, remember, Danica fell to the back. She's already cycled back through to third. In fact, the only 2 that haven't stopped are Marco and Scott Sharp. They stopped back at lap 146. Then Danica stopped at lap 152. And Koski here on lap 158 officially. So question is, will the top 2 decide to come in late as well. Jack, you've got more on Danica?
Well, yeah, it was interesting. Kim Green, as we have overheard throughout the course of their union since the beginning of the season, has been probably the biggest cheerleader for Danica Patrick. After that slow pit stop, the first thing Kim Green told his charge was, don't worry about it. We will be able to cycle our way through. You've got a very good race car. Said, let's get it down to your 2 teammates and yourself, and let's decide it amongst the 3 of you. Good encouragement for the gal looking for her first victory in IndyCar competition.
And as we mentioned, would somebody else come in and pit? The answer to that is yes. We can tell you that Scott Sharp peeled off while you were reporting, Jack. So that means only Marco Andretti is the last to come in. He pitted last on lap 146. And Scott Sharp, the last to pit at lap 159. And all it cost him was he moves to the back at 7th place.
And like I said, there's not that many cars left on the racetrack right now. It's not like you're going all the way towards the back of the queue. It's not like you've got still 18 or 20 cars out there, so this works out fine for all these drivers.
Well, here's a moment, folks, that I'm looking forward to. I want to hear from this man. Dario Franchitti is with Jack Arute.
Well, and the gray hair that you see on Dario's head was there long before your airborne action. Take me through what happened, Dario.
I don't know. I'm just asking the guys, and you know, I asked Dan as well, and he sort of thinks, he said he came up a bit, I came down a bit. We're running so close, just trying to get an advantage. It's, you know, sometimes it's stupid like that. This thing, you're flat the whole time, and you're just looking for that advantage. So that's one of the parts I don't enjoy this type of super speedway racing when it is like that. But so whatever happened, we touched. The next thing I know, I'm upside down. I open my eyes and I'm going backwards about 30 feet in the air. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. When it came down, it actually didn't feel that bad. I've since found out I came down on top of Scott. So I'm really glad he's okay. I'm glad everybody's okay, everybody involved. And I said to Scott, we've got to stop meeting like that. You know, we've been running side by side in so many races recently, and you know, he definitely helped me out. But I'm just glad everybody's okay. It's not a lot of fun when it's like this.
When does it really begin to sink in, Monday or Tuesday, about how maybe close you came?
I think when I stopped and I realized I was in one piece, I couldn't quite believe it. I still can't believe it. So it's sunk in already. Believe me, it's sunk in. I'm a lucky guy.
Yes, you are, and we're glad to see you're okay. Thanks, Dario.
All right, and that is great. I can't believe he's just walking around like nothing happened. If you didn't see this, you'd wonder why we're making a fuss.
And this is amazing. You know, when we watch this go through, if you watch the transition lines on the racetrack, you can see Dario seems like he stays still, and the 10 car of Dan Weldon certainly seems like he comes up and gets that left rear of Dario Franchitti's machine, and then off it goes. All this sort of happens. Now, I'm sure that Dario won't be going home tonight. He did fly his helicopter here from his home in Nashville, Tennessee, so that'll be something that he'll probably take on tomorrow after going upside down at 215 miles an hour.
And the closeness of the team shown there as he gets back to the pit area. And a hug from Michael in a moment together. We can tell you that while all this was going on, Marco Andretti did peel off. He did pit on lap 160. So with 40 laps to go, everybody in the top 7 has pitted. And guess what? That means that Danica Patrick cycles through back to the race lead.
Well, I like what Marco Andretti has done, because at 160, if he gets to the 195 area and we still have a few more laps underneath yellow, he might just be the one that gets there on fuel mileage all the way to the end.
Well,
you want to stay as long as possible, and that's exactly what he did. And I give him great marks for that. It's a bit of a gamble because they could close the pit lane at any time, and you could find yourself stuck out here, Marty, and then not have gotten into the pit for fuel.
Well, I'm looking over at Brian Barnhart, man who's in charge of making the call, and he's still pointing at some of the debris down in the area where the crash occurred. So it looks like we're going to stay yellow for a little while longer for sure, because he's a little animated as he's trying to get that area cleaned up. So it looks like we're going to have a moment here to go side by side with Danica Patrick in the race lead. Remember, there have been 12 first-time winners here at Michigan in open wheel competition. Does Danica become a lucky number 13? Stay with us, find out. Well, back here at Michigan International Speedway, the game of cat and mouse, and who's going to sneak into the pit lane last to have the most fuel going down the stretch run. advantage now, Danica Patrick.
I like that strategy. Better stay out as long as possible. Exactly what we were saying just before we went to break, because if you can get somewhere around lap 165, which they're coming up to, then you're going to make it to the end. And this looks like it's a great strategy to date.
Jack, you've got more?
Yes, Scott and Marty, not only did they add the fuel and top off, but they made a minor wing adjustment on the right front wing. Remember, that's where the damage was. They've taped it up. You can see that white right there. It can become kind of like a gurney flap if you don't have it adhesively attached the right way. Kim Green showed the wherewithal to be able to spot that and came in and they took a piece of that tape off so that it wouldn't be unstable.
She pits on lap 163. And so now Scott Sharp was the last to pit. He's in the race lead at lap 158. So the advantages are now down to just 4 laps, but it's still 4 laps.
Well, here in the situation, remember, we do no longer have any of the fuel trim devices on the steering wheel where drivers can change from 100% fuel down to 98 or 96 and sort of save fuel as they run here at the end. But this is going to be all flat out racing, and everybody's going to be using 100% fuel. So probably the most important thing right now for Scott Sharp is that as long as he continues to have a few more yellow laps here, he'll probably be the earliest guy to pit.
And folks, remember one of the 6 cars involved in that crash, A.J. Foyt, the 4th. Look at this. He is back out. He is 18 laps down, but he is back out on the racetrack. So that gives us 8 cars running. And, well, that is an amazing sight after seeing what that 6-car crash was all about. All right, Scott Sharp, the man up front. In all his races here at Michigan, he has never finished outside the top 10. He has a chance to win this here, and take a look. His average finish has been 7th. His best was 4th. And he is just, what, 37 laps away from being able to claim victory.
Always consistent here, and he's actually completed every lap of every race so far, so looks like today will be no exception to that. Jack Arute?
Well, Scott, could you remember at the start of the race, he talked about the non-verbal communication that he and Jeff Britton, his chief engineer and tactician, were able to have all the way back to Kelly Racing days. Well, right now, Britton may have thrown a bone to his driver, told him, with all of these caution laps, they think they can go the distance without a splash and go. That could be encouraging to a driver. Brianne Pedigo?
Marco Andretti was just told they are not going to stop. At least they don't plan to for the rest of the race. They also told him that whatever tiny bit of fuel he can save under these yellow flag conditions, he will get back as power when the flag drops green. He needs that fuel when the green flag goes. He's going to need it at the end of this race.
All right, thanks, guys. As we continue under yellow here, still waiting to hear from IndyCar officials when we are going to have a chance of going green. And we are hearing 5 laps. Now, if the teams get wind of this, you're going to see a bunch of people wanting to come into pit lane.
Well, I'm not sure that anybody really needs to. With 5 laps more of yellow, I'm not sure if that's going to be the situation, because we're right within that fuel window. We heard Kim Green say 35, 36 laps, and they've been just sort of sipping the fuel here for the past couple of laps, and Marco is going to come in and top up. So it's a little bit of a safety factor for them, I'm sure. Maybe it's just going to be fuel tires. We'll have to look and see. Just fuel, we hear. Behind him, it looks like Thomas Schechter is also Buddy Rice.
And Buddy has topped off as well. So now with 35 laps to go, does anybody else decide to come in and make sure, give themselves that little extra guarantee? Brianne, you want to bring us up to date on why they brought Marco in?
Marty, when they told Marco Andretti that they were not going to stop, he turned around and convinced them they could. If he just topped off, he would definitely be able to move his way back through the field. And he did a good job of convincing them.
Well, you got to have confidence in your driver, and that gives him the confidence that he knows he's got the fuel to go the distance.
Absolutely, and that's a great feeling for the driver. But you ask also why they take so long to clean up the debris on this racetrack. But with the crash that we had with so many cars involved and so many little small pieces on the racetrack, the IRL, led by Brian Barnard, has to make sure that there is no pieces left on the racetrack whatsoever, because if these cars run over it and the debris ends up cutting a tire, then obviously all you're going to do is end up having more cars into the wall. So a little A little extra safety time here on the is what they actually always do. And as a previous driver, I can tell you it's something that you always appreciate.
Well, and we've just gotten word from IndyCar officials. One of the things they noticed while they were out there was we had a case of the weepers occurring. So all this, the water table increasing, as Jack explained earlier in the broadcast. That's what we're really dealing with at this late stage down in, it's actually down in turn number 1. So the crash was down the backstretch heading in towards 3. So that's what our issue is now. So we're cleaned up as far as the crash is concerned. We've got an issue with moisture down in turn 1. All right, let's take a look at our top 5. It's Scott Sharp in front of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Can you talk about a kid in his second race, maybe coming on with a victory? Tony Kanaan, he's won here before, back in 1999. He's in 3rd. Koski Matsuura looking for his first ever career IndyCar win. And so is the lady right behind him, Danica Patrick.
Deep down, she wants to be recognized as a winning race car driver first, and then a popular superstar second.
I came to AGR with expectations for sure, and I'm sure that they had theirs in me. So when people ask about the pressure maybe to go out there and win, I say that, yeah, there's more now.
There is Danica. Whoa, and she's in trouble. Hang on to it.
Weldon hit me. Weldon came down.
There's a lot of pressure on her, like I say, because she's not won a race.
It'd be very easy for us to let it destroy the team.
I went to AGRs because I want to win.
I really believe in her. I believe that she can get it done. You know, that's where the pressure is back on us. So we got to put her in the right situation, give her the right car to win.
Here comes Danica Patrick as she pulls to the rear wing of Tony Kanaan. A 3-horse race with 10 laps remaining in Texas.
She's willing to put in the hard work. And no, it's not going to be easy, but if she works hard, it'll happen.
I'll be disappointed if she doesn't win a race this year, because I think we're capable. But if she doesn't, it's not necessarily going to be her fault.
And as you see, she's in 5th place right now with a total of 8 cars still running here after that big 6-car crash. We're now down to 33 laps to go. And here are those looking for their first career win in the IndyCar Series. Danica in her 42nd start. Koski Matsuura would be in his 59th. Ryan Hunter-Reay in his 2nd now, actually. So as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. Jack, you've got more on Danica?
Yeah, Marty, I had a chance to sit down and talk at length with Kim Green, and I asked him if he could ascertain the turning point, when the chemistry, when everything began to come together for his relationship with his new driver. And he told me it was as recently as mid-Ohio. You alluded to it. When Danica Patrick drove her way into the Fast 6 on a road course, and I quote Kim Green, on what could be the toughest road course that the IndyCars drive on. He said, that's what impressed me and convinced me that Danica Patrick is ready to win.
Well, we'll find out. We're hearing word now that it could be as little as 2 to 3 laps before we go back to green flag racing. And look at this work done by Chip Ganassi's team. They did this before, remember, when we had the problems back at Iowa?
And you're getting a few points, as we mentioned before, last year with the tie in the championship and won by, you know, amount of races won. Here's a situation where if you're going to go out there with only 7 or 8 cars running, you know you're going to gain 9th place points.
Well, and remember, he is listed right now in 12th place. Dario Franchitti 11th. He theoretically could jump up as high as 10th, get ahead of Dan Weldon, and here they come, rolling out. Here they come. There is Dan Weldon. And here is the team. What happened to him? He disappeared, boys. There they come. Had to get some people out of the way, probably. But they're rolling back out, and this should get an ovation from the crowd. As he brings it back out, and he's underway. Let's go take you back a few moments ago. We picked up this audio from Danica Patrick and her team.
Again, just before we do go, I just want to remind you, we're racing. I think Sharp, apart from your teammates, is the best of the other cars. We've really got to be sensible here. It can be an AGR 1, 2, 3, and we need a butt kicked if we can't achieve that. So we've got to obviously try and get out there, 1, 2, 3, go, and then race each other fairly.
All right, so no team orders. He just wants 1, 2, 3. He's not asking for too much.
Well, race each other fairly, but that all goes out the window with about 5 laps left to go. If you have a shot for winning, you'll be making your car just a little bit wider, even if it's a teammate behind you that is trying to get by.
Tip of the hat to the number 9 crew. They have got Scott Dixon back out on this racetrack. Look at this. This is amazing after the crash that car was involved in. And Dario Franchitti is still in the pits. He's obviously not coming back. And this could pick him up 2 spots because he'll get ahead of Dario and possibly Dan Weldon as well. In fact, by my calculations, he will. He'll pick up 2 spots. And maybe more if Thomas Scheckter drops out. Schecter's 26 laps behind. Word from officials will go green this time by. So it's Scott Sharp leading Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, Kosuke Matsuura, Danica Patrick, Marco Andretti, Buddy Rice. That's the 7 cars on the lead lap. AJ Foyt the 4th, and Scott Dixon back out on the track. And here we go. Looking on the high side, 3 wide. There goes Marco. Underneath, it's Kosuke. 4 wide. Look out, guys.
Almost like they didn't even remember what just happened, which caused this last yellow, Marty. That's like a race driver. Just close the book on what happened before and let's go racing.
Marco said, give me the fuel, I'll get you the track position back. Right now, he's got the race lead. The veteran Scott Sharp is right there in 2nd place. Tony Kanaan in 3rd. And oh no, we're getting word from race officials that Marco Andretti jumped the restart, and he's going to be penalized. At the stripe, it is now Sharp that takes the lead. Then it is Kanaan with Danica Patrick on the high side.
Be interesting to see if they just let Marco fall back behind the pack. Remember, he was at the tail end, or is he going to have to come in for a drive-through penalty?
Danica's going to go. Take a look on the right side. Here's the replay. Check Marco.
He's passing cars before they have called green on the radio, which is the infraction. On the start of a race, you cannot pass anybody until you get to the start line, but on a restart, as soon as they yell green over the radio, then you can get up and get going. And we're getting word now that all he had to do was fall back behind the cars that he passed, which he did, and now they're allowing him to move forward. I'm not sure that in my mind he got backwards behind all the cars that he passed on the restart. Looks like just maybe the few that were up ahead of him. Not sure that's quite correct.
Well, we'll wait for IndyCar officials. Maybe they'll say something else to him. Right now, we can tell you it's Tony Kanaan, and you look at the Firestone telemetry onto Kanaan's car, flat-footing it all the way around. That's Scott Sharp and Marco Andretti in 2nd, Sharp 3rd, Danica Patrick 4th, Kosuke Matsuura in 5th. 26 laps to go here at Michigan. Down the back stretch. And for Scott Sharp in 3rd, Jack, you got an update on his condition?
Well, we've been told by their crew that Scott Sharp radioed in that he has a faulty mirror. In fact, he says that he thought he had lost the mirror. I think if we see the mirrors there, he may have lost the lens. This is not the kind of place where you don't want to have both your rear view mirrors because it's tight quarters action.
Well, then you're really going to have to rely on the spotter. Your spotter better have 20/20 X-ray vision, especially on the far side of the racetrack. Down to 25 laps to go. Who is going to win this shootout? Right now, there is under attack Scott Sharp on the high side. That's Danica Patrick. That's for 3rd. Up front, Tony Kanaan and Marco Andretti. It looks like these 4 are trying to pull away from the rest of the field. And look at this. Sam Hornish, their team, has put the car back together. He's listed in 14th position right now as he rolls back out through the tunnel and gets back into the fray with 24 laps to go. Meanwhile, out on the racetrack, you can see that now it's a 3-car breakaway. Scott Sharp has fallen back out of this 3-car pack, and it is all AGR, exactly what Kim Green wanted.
2 of the drivers, Tony Kanaan and Marco Andretti, have won races before. 3rd car in your picture, Danica Patrick, still looking for her 1st win. Don't expect her to get any help, though, from her teammates. They want to win also.
And we can tell you Scott Dixon went out to do just enough laps to get himself into 9th position right now. As is that hit? Yep, that's his car coming back in. Meanwhile, I have this momentary flash of all those incidents we've seen throughout the course of the season between the AGR teammates, and God help them all if one of those happens right now.
That would not be very popular back at team headquarters back in Indianapolis this week. Plus a lot of cars to repair, as we've seen already today, for a lot of teams getting ready for our Kentucky event, which is next Saturday. Tony Kanaan seems like he's able just to run out front. Marco Andretti starting to look on the high side just a little bit.
Remember the last time AGR swept the top 4 position, St. Petersburg, 2005. That is Brooke. That's Danica's sister over on the right side there. And here we go with, again, Marco looking to the second lane. Danica looking for the high lane, and now she'll tuck in. There's Michael. He's a little nervous. Now he's gone down to talk to the other pit. So obviously there's some kind of a conversation going on.
Oh, he's probably making sure that all the team managers for each particular team are radiating to their drivers saying, let's not do anything stupid. You heard Kim Green say, we need a... there it is. Everybody stay in line until 10 laps to go.
Was it 10 or 2?
I thought that I heard 10.
Well, look who's sneaking back into this battle. They may not have a choice. Scott Sharp has tucked back right up underneath Danica.
And I think that's why Michael wanted the 3 of these cars to keep in line nose to tail, so they weren't giving any advantage when they're running side by side. The advantage would be going to Scott Sharp.
So right now they are in lockstep. And remember, as this race has progressed, Danica's cars actually did perform better on the longer run.
Absolutely, and it looks like she was able to do that. As you mentioned, that's a good...
That's Sharp's radio telling him keep digging. He's clear of Matsuura, but he's again starting to lose contact. But here goes the AGR crew getting out of formation.
Well, sometimes you have to, because these cars require just a little bit of air to go over the front wings and through the tunnels to give you grip. And if you're directly behind the car in front, then you end up with that big push going up to the track. So watch them to run staggered through the turn as they do.
And here comes Sharp sneaking back into the battle.
But what Danica's got to do, she's got to continue to get down towards the bottom, let Sharp on the inside. As we came off of turn 2, you saw some little bit of moisture, it looked like, coming off the left rear of Marco Andretti's machine, telling you there's probably still a couple of spots out there that these cars can actually start to pull up the moisture.
And take a look a little bit further back. Koski Matsuura is trying to pull up on the back wing now. They're telling him he's clear by 5. I'm not sure I'd buy 5 car lengths.
What's your mirror always say? Objects in this mirror are closer than they appear?
Yeah, but remember, Sharp has a faulty mirror, so he may not even be able to see on one side as to which one it is. We're not quite sure. Meanwhile, the battle continues up front. Well, not really the battle, the freight train. The battle isn't going to unfold till we get down near the wire.
Probably agonizing for Michael Andretti, because he's watching his 3 cars do this, and he just wants a 1-2-3 finish, I'm sure. Probably just wants to get it over with. What he does not want to see is the 3 of these cars be involved in their own accident.
They continue to run 1, 2, and 3. 15 laps to go this time by. Tony Kanaan, the veteran of the 3 out there right now for Andretti Green Racing. Of course, he's got 2 wins this year, 8 top 5s, but those 2 costly DNFs at Iowa and Nashville. Did I just see like drops on a camera lens there? Please tell me I didn't.
I don't want this to end myself. This is going to be a great battle, especially when we hear that the Andretti Green team has clearance to go racing with 10 laps to go, just in about another 5 laps from now.
This time by, it'll be 14 laps to go. And it is Koski Matsuura right on the back wing of Scott Sharp. Let's get more on AGR strategy, Jack.
We've got a right rear tire going down on Danica Patrick's car. She is going to have to pull onto pit road. What a day of disappointment for the Motorola team.
So the sensor that is located in the car is telling the team that she has got a right rear going down, and here she goes. She's fallen off the pace. So her chance of victory has just headed for pit lane.
Boy, and you hope that actually the sensor is correct and that it's not just the sensor going bad.
So now it's down to Tony Kanaan and Marco Andretti for Andretti Green. Jack?
They go to work on the right rear. It was going down 1 pound a lap, guys. That's why they couldn't chance it to 75 pounds. You can see the way she lit the tires up. That's frustration embodied.
Well, but this one's not her fault. I mean, there's nothing she can do about it. She drove a good race. It just didn't unfold the way that she and her sister Brooke and their family wanted. And right now, it's going to be up to her teammates, Tony Kanaan and Marco Andretti, to carry the colors. And she is going to go a lap down right there. So it is over. Even if they got a yellow right now, she couldn't get back on the lead lap. Meanwhile, you can see that there's a battle going on for third between Matsuura and the 8 car of Scott Sharp.
You know, and that's what I love about this series compared to some other series in this country, Marty, is that with that telemetry system, you can see if the tire is going down. And that's not a performance issue. That is a safety issue that I think each car in every series in this country should have. So you have the opportunity to see if a tire is going down and, you know, not end up having a tire just get too hot and then end up exploding and sending you into the wall.
Kosuke Matsuura, his career best finish is 4th.
10 laps to go. Next time by again.
You heard 10 laps to go on Kanaan's radio. For Scott Sharp, boy, he has had a great career here at Michigan. Never finished outside the top 10. His best finish was 4th. He's running 3rd right now. So now with 10 laps to go, it is a 2-car shootout at this point. The other two, Sharp and Matsuura, have fallen back. Now on the right, Danica, we had a chance to eavesdrop on the radio when she realized her chances to win had just vanished.
This is like the nightmare of my life. I cannot believe it. I can't believe it.
The nightmare of my life. Well, at least her professional life.
Well,
Jack, you've got more on the race lead.
Well, keep in mind that this is the tutor and the student. Remember, Marco Andretti moved from Nazareth, Pennsylvania to Miami, Florida to, and I quote, be closer to Tony Kanaan. They are workout buddies. Tony Kanaan has tutored the young Andretti, tried to convince him, even from Homestead when Marco pulled an ill-handling car onto pit road, tried to teach him that sometimes you have to just continue to work and work and work. And now it looks, guys, like it's going to come down to the teacher and the student.
I thought for a second Jack was going to say the tutor and the tutee. All right, take a look. There he comes. The green light may have been given. 8 laps to go between these two. They've got plenty of a gap between them and 3rd place Scott Sharp and 4th place Kosuke Matsuura. Down the backstretch, Marco looks to the high side. Kanaan's got the preferred low line. They're going to go side by side, coming through 3 and 4. Tony pulls back ahead. Marco tucks in.
and you know that's exactly what Tony is going to do for the remaining 8 laps. He's continued to be on the low side, so we now go down to 7 laps to go. He's going to leave just enough room to let Marco think that he can get through on the inside, and then he'll close the door on him. All legal, and it's really great sportsmanship if you count the fact that he's probably driving looking in his mirrors most of the time.
Marco again looks to the high side. Into 3 and 4. Can't get it done again. This time by, there'll be 6 laps to go. Marco again going to try the high side.
Gets a draft off the car, going down through the front stretch, through the D oval, and then tries to carry the momentum when he does the slingshot on the outside.
He looks better in 1 and 2 than he does in 3 and 4.
And Tony starts to move him up the road just a little bit. Marco had to respond, otherwise they would have touched. Now what Marco's trying to do is to continue to keep Tony on the low side when he can, right down by the white line through the turns, and maybe he has to lift off the gas because he's going to end up coming up the track and maybe getting into Marco. Marco's goal is to get beside him all the way around and start to push him down towards the white line, which makes him scrub off more speed.
5 laps to go. You saw for a brief moment the battle continues between Sharp and Matsura. Sharp stays in third. Marco falls back a little bit. This time by there'll be 4 laps to go. And again, he seems to have better grip going through turns 1 and 2 than he does in 3 and 4.
And when all this has been going on, Sam Hornish, as we saw, went back out and just started to circulate and made laps and did a couple more laps than Scott Dixon. So Sam Hornish takes over the 9th spot for points gaining here this weekend, and Dixon is now moved from 9th to 10th.
Down the back stretch, and all of a sudden the 3rd car comes into view there with Koski Matsura. That looked like Danica Patrick, as she is down a full lap, so not a factor in that battle for 3rd. Meanwhile, take a look as we get 3 laps to go this time by. Does Marco have anything left for Tony Kanaan?
As you mentioned, 1 and 2 is where he looks the best. He keeps trying to put his left front wheel right by the right rear of Tony Kanaan, trying to force Tony down. Looks like this time he was able to do that.
Can he hold on to it going into 3? He's got a bit of a nose out in front, but here comes Tony right back into 3. And Marco falls right back again.
Oh, and Michael, you saw him. He's riding along inside the cockpit with Marco right now.
This time by, 2 laps remaining. Is it going to be the teacher or is it going to be the student that takes the win? It looks certain, short of another disaster, that Andretti Green will finish 1-2.
And you have to like Tony Kanaan's chances only from the fact that, as you mentioned, he's stronger in 3 and 4, getting that drive through 3 and 4 towards the stripe, right down the front stretch.
Through 3 and 4 again, Tony just able to hug the white line. Marco can do nothing. He won't open the door for him to get underneath. White flag, 1 lap to go at Michigan. A day that started, well, 7 hours and 40 minutes ago is finally going to come to conclusion. Who's going to win it? Will it be the 32-year-old Tony Kanaan from Brazil, or will it be the 20-year-old from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Marco Andretti? Down the backstretch there, wheel to wheel, going into 3. Here comes Kanaan, just like before, able to close the door and take it through 4. Coming to the stretch, it will be Tony Kanaan in front with his 3rd win this season and 10th of his career, and Marco Andretti right behind. Scott Sharp comes in 3rd. Koski Matsura ties his career best 4th. Buddy Rice 5th. So a 1-2 finish for AGR. Ryan Hunter-Reay has his best oval finish in 6th. And Danica Patrick comes home in 7th. So as Tony waves to the crowd, let's hear from his team owner, Brianne.
Michael Andretti, Marty, has had to wear a lot of different hats today. Not only are you a father cheering on your son, but you're also a team owner that's had some major highs and lows today. Talk me through the emotions going through your head at this hour.
Crazy race, you know. Dario was doing an awesome job, was a class to the field, and then Dan gets into him, and it's like, thank God he was all right. And then we had 3 running right up there, and unfortunately Danica has a problem with the flat tire, and it came down to the 2 of them. And you know, Marco and Tony, I mean, they took care of each other and they put on a good show, and you know, it was fun watching.
Now, talk me through at the end of this race. Bottom line, you come out victorious, but you're a father and a friend and an owner here. How do you root for one more than another? Is there any of that going on?
Not really. I mean, I wanted them all to win, you know, and, you know, yeah, it'd be great to see Marco win, especially on an oval with the tough of years he's had, but, you know, Tony's been going through tough times too, and he's a good friend, and, you know, so it's a tough one, you know. I wanted any one of them to win.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, this is a big career boost for Marco Andretti in a confidence way, because a great finish for him after 5 DNFs on the ovals. He comes home in 2nd. You saw Danica with the frustration. A relieved Dario Franchitti as we still can't believe that he's up and walking around after the crash he went through. And there's Michael over to console Danica. And there's Tony. He's taking another lap. I would think after 7 hours and 40 minutes, he'd want to get out of that car and celebrate. Let's go back and take another look at the last lap.
He did everything perfect. Just protected the low line when he had to. He knows for sure because he's inside the cockpit. You mentioned it, Marty, that Marco was better in 1 and 2. He knew that we'd have a run on him. You see how he moves up the track just a little bit to take the lane away from him, try to push him a little bit higher, make him go around the high side, the longer way. Marco still carries the momentum off 1 and 2, but as we mentioned, we like Tony Kanaan's chances because in turns 3 and 4, that's where he got a chance to surge ahead. His car worked better in turns 3 and 4. He gets that run down to the stripe. He picks up his second win here at Michigan International Speedway and becomes now one of 3 people that have only ever won here twice.
A great run for both drivers. And as you take a look at Danica talking to her mom, Bev, the frustration obviously apparent. Dario taking a look, and he sees his friend. The first to congratulate him from the team, if I remember correctly, at Indy was Tony. He came up to him in the rain-soaked area and gave him a big hug. And I think Dario is going to return the favor here at Michigan. Of course, Tony won in 1999. That's Kevin Savory giving a hug to Tony. Savory calls the shots for Tony. They're having a little trouble getting him out of the Hans device. There it goes.
I remember Tony saying just a few races ago that after races like this on Monday, he says, I need to rest. He says, after races on Monday, Marco at only 20 years old is bouncing around like, okay, what are we going to do today?
That's the difference between being 20 and 32. And oh, the disappointment, the look on Danica's face as she gives Dario a hug, and he tries to console her, but she knows that this was opportunity lost. She could have been in that mix, although I don't think she had enough to get around the high side either.
She did not seem like she had that.
All right, well, let's go join the celebration, Jackaroot.
Well, first he had to get that big gulp done. Okay, TK, I want to talk a little bit about the teacher taking the student to school those last few laps.
I have to say we did not have the fast car, and the kid was my wingman, and I knew it. I mean, he's my true teammate, and you know, that's what's the beauty. And he was trying, trust me, he was trying, but he protected me, and I said, hey, let's play it at the end. If you can be quicker than me, you're gonna win. If I can, you're gonna win. So
when you there you go, Marco. He just called you the wingman.
Yeah, he's the ultimate wingman for sure. We, you know, this is his day. Interview him.
All right, there you go. Let's talk for a moment too. If I'm not mistaken, this is this the first race without your bride that's back in Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, it's for you. I think it's been tough. It's been, you know, we're far away, and the baby's on the way. A month and 20 days now, so I think I have a good gift to send it to her right now.
Let's talk about comparing this to your first victory. Your first career victory came here, and I know how emotional you were there. What about this time?
I'm happy. I mean, it's not the same as here. Sorry. Oh, we're there. It feels good. I mean, it's sad that we're going away, but as you guys saw, it was a crazy race. So kind of a mixed feelings about if I'm gonna miss it or not. But it's a special for sure. Every win's a special, and it was good for the team. I would say we did what we were supposed to do. Feel sorry for Dario, but you know, as worse as it could be, Dixon went with him. So we're looking good. Let's try to catch up to Dario in the championship and maybe finish 1-2.
Well, congratulations. You saw the teammates come up and congratulate Tony Kanaan, and one of his teammates is now with Brienne Pedigon.
Danica Patrick, obviously disappointed. I don't blame you. That's got to be incredibly frustrating. But a note to your character, the first thing you did when you got out on pit lane was go and congratulate your teammates. What are you feeling?
I'm so mad. Of course I'm going to think of myself first. You know, I thought that was my chance to win. I was like 80% sure that was me. I could not believe when they told me my right rear was going flat. Couldn't believe it. Thank goodness we won. You know, we were working like a team out there. You know, we weren't pulling away from Sharp like we wanted to, but trust me, when we started dicing it up, he wasn't going to hang with us. And then it would have been all up for grabs.
You were definitely quite a team out there. And what was it like watching your teammate go upside down during the race?
Wow. I mean, I can't say on air exactly what I said into the radio, but that was scary. You know, Weldon just came up and came into Dario's tires and just got him airborne. And I mean, the last I saw, I went underneath him as he was in the air. And I mean, you never know what can happen. That's horrible whenever you go upside down, and thank goodness he's okay. But that's always scary, especially when it's a teammate. And this is a very fast track. We were probably going, you know, 220, 25 mile an hour at that point. So very scary.
You called this the nightmare of your life. When will you kind of be able to shake that off and start focusing on Kentucky?
I have to right away, you know. What am I going to do? Every single time it all shook out there, I moved forward. I always ended up, you know, in the top 4 or 5 as soon as it all shook down. I mean, the starts were just a jumbled up mess. Everybody cycled through 5 or 6 different positions through the first 10 laps of green after a start. And but I was always there in the end. I was fast. I knew I was fast. I guess I had the fastest race lap. So, you know, that's why it's like you don't always get that situation. You don't always get the situation where you are the fastest car on the track. And, you know, I wish I could have capitalized on that. Instead, I tried to help Kosuke get by Sharp at the end because I don't want Sharp to get the points, but it's life.
Jack Root, so
All right,
close, so far away.
Well, the nightmare is over, but the celebration continues here in Victory Lane. Is standing in the background. As he told us, it's TK's day, but Marco, let's talk for a moment. Tony told us that he took you to school a little bit. He wanted to try you a little bit, but then he gave you credit for not only racing clean, but having learned a lot of valuable lessons.
Yeah, no, he's, you know, he's the reason I'm in Indycars, you know, at 19 years old, you know, but no, like you said, he's my wingman as well. I mean, you know, I was glad to see it came down to the 2 of us, but, you know, my car was really good in a big pack, but, you know, the NYC car didn't have enough to pull it off on our own, but, hey, we had a lot of safe, lucky breaks, rather. Somebody was looking over us during the race, so, you know, I had cars flipping over me and stuff like that. I was worried for Dario. I'm glad he's all right.
When you take a look, it almost seems so subtle what you guys did out there, your 2 teammates. A little edge here, a little edge there. How close is it from your vantage point in the cockpit?
Yeah, it's closer than what you guys see. You know, I just tried to hold him down as much as possible, but his car was good enough to hold the bottom without lifting. You know, my 5th gear was a bit too tall. You know, on my own. It pulled me not bad coming out of, you know, over the bump. He hit the rev limiter and it gave me the edge, but then, you know, down the back, his gear was optimum. So, well done.
All right, let's check in with the person that Danica Patrick said she was trying to steal some points from today. She's with Brienne.
Jack, I'm with Scott Sharp and a very proud son of his who's come to congratulate his daddy. Scott, what a day. Starting 4th, finishing 3rd. Oh, it's over now.
Yeah, it was wild. You know, it's funny. I was saying to the guys last night, this place always changes. You know, you practice in the big packs, and everyone's on the bottom. And no matter what comes the race, you can't run on the bottom anymore. And we worked hard to have a really good car on the top, like 3rd and 4th groove yesterday, and we had that. And we were quick up there, but it's the long way around. So if I ever got taken advantage of or I ever was getting passed, especially early, it was on the bottom. Anytime I went to the bottom, big moments, you know, a couple of huge sideways slides, and so we just really couldn't run down there. We got it better and better, and finally at the end I could. But we fought that a little bit, and then of course the big incident, man. I was running right behind Sam, and you know, you're not really looking there, you're sort of looking over there, and I couldn't really see what happened. All of a sudden his rear wing's almost in my face. And I thought we hit him pretty hard, and I thought for sure it must have ripped up a lot more than the front wing. But the guys built a strong car, and you know, that once again, thank everyone praying for me out there. We dodged the big bullets over there.
I was just speaking to Danica Patrick, and she said that there at the end, she didn't really believe that you would have what it took to get in the mix of her and her teammates there at the end. Do you think you had enough in the car?
Possibly her, 'cause she seemed to go up high and get slower. I don't think she was going to pass any of them. But if she had gone up high and sort of washed out and I could have gotten underneath them and still had the toe of them, maybe. But certainly the AGR cars were pretty strong. Congratulations to them, 1-2, and it would have been tough.
Marty, Scott?
It was a great run for Scott Sharp, as you said, 4th on the grid and comes home 3rd. And there is the celebration. The photos already underway. And it's been a long day. It started almost now 8 hours ago. Stay with us. We'll put a period on it when we come back. Back here as the celebration continues in Victory Lane with Tony Kanaan's win. Do you know we've had 6 races now in the IndyCar series here at Michigan, and all 6, the margin of victory totals less than 4 seconds. Today, 5/100ths, the 17th closest finish in IndyCar series history. All right, it's been a good, bad, and ugly day for Andretti Green Racing. Let's go back and recap, as it was ugly when this moment happened, when the touch of the wheels, Weldon and Franchitti, and Dario goes airborne.
A very lucky situation when he gets a chance to get out of the car. We looked at this originally and thought the worst, simply because he came down on the roll bar with such force, but the luck of it for him was they actually ended up landing on Scott Dixon's car to help cushion the blow.
And there he was with the Delphi safety crew getting out, talking to him as if nothing happened. Now, the bad moment came for Danica Patrick late in the race when a tire sensor told her she had a right rear going down. It cost her a chance at her first career win. She was running 3rd at the time. She ended up 7th. Sister Brooke, heartbroken. So was Danica. And the good for AGR, how about a 1-2 finish, as it was the teacher taking care of business over the student. 32-year-old Tony Kanaan takes the win over 20-year-old Marco Andretti. But a big day for Marco. Remember those 5 DNFs on the oval. And he can put that to bed now as he gets a 2nd place finish here. Let's take a look at our full field results. And behind Kanaan and Andretti, it was Scott Sharp with Koski Matsura 4th. Buddy Rice rounding out the top 5. A very good run for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Danica Patrick 7th, and then AJ Foyt the 4th, and 8th Sam Hornish 9th. Scott Dixon rounds out the top 10. Remember, those 2 came back out just to get enough laps to get a few more points. Take a look on down. There's Dario. He ends up 13th, all the way down with all those cars out of the race, including Elio Castroneves. And if we take a look at the points championship, it is going to be a benefit for Tony Kanaan. He is going to get it back down to 81 markers. Remember, it was triple digits for Tony, so he's not out of it. We talked about the other 2 having to have misfortune. It did. It opened a door ever so slightly for him.
And some great runs by Tony Kanaan throughout the year. He's had some bad luck this year, much like Dario Franchitti did last year. But you know something? It's not over till it's over. He is close. He can smell it. Maybe it's going to get to him.
Well, and think about this. Dario Franchitti has a horrific crash and walks away with the same amount of points lead that he came into the race today. He's got to be living a charmed life in more ways than one, and I think he'll be the first to admit it. So a tip of the hat to everybody who was able to walk away from that crash. Also to all the crews that got back on track after the incidents, including Sam Hornish, and of course AJ Foyt the 4th, and Scott Dixon. Final thoughts on this one?
Well, a lot of work for a lot of crew members this week. A short week because we leave and go off to Kentucky for Saturday. A lot of late nights for these teams. I always think about those guys. A lot of hard work putting in by the team behind the scenes.
So a little bit of everything today, including a marathon. It almost started to feel like it was going to be a 12-hour race rather than a 400-miler, but we did get it in. Glad you stuck it out with us, even though we had to come over to ESPN Classic. Glad you followed us. And, of course, we'll get ready now for next week's race at Kentucky. The interviews continue down in Victory Lane for Tony Kanaan. A big thank you to our ESPN crew, because these guys have been out literally in the weather all day, and it's now 8 hours in length. See you this coming Saturday, August 11th, 6:30 Eastern on ESPN2 for the Kentucky IndyCar 300. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, the Jackie Robinson story. Congratulations again to Tony Kanaan. For Scott Goodyear, Jack Arute, Brianne Pettigo, I'm Marty Reed. Till we meet again.